There's a lot about Sarah and Tara that's exactly alike. They drink the same coffee, they have the same great job, and they both have a high-quality education. The only difference? Sarah spent her first 2 years at Carroll Community College, getting the same exceptional education, but at less than half the cost. So while Tara uses her paycheck to make student loan payments, Sarah can use hers for other things, like going out for coffee. Get started at carrollcc.edu.
Carroll Indoor Sports Center, celebrating its 30th season. 66,000 square feet of fields and courts. Rain or shine, multiple soccer and lacrosse leagues. Artificial turf fields and courts to rent. Party rooms and snack bar available. Summer camp for the kids. Safe indoor environment for athletes of all ages. Carroll Indoor Sports Center. Your sport, anytime.
CMSportsNet is made possible by Carroll Links, Carroll Indoor Sports Center, and independent car service. The Central Maryland Sports Network is a programming service of the Community Media Center.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special presentation of Carroll County Athletic League football. It's CMSportsNet's multi-game coverage for Week 6. I'm Pat Stoetzer, joined by Nathan Schwartz here in the CMC studio. Nathan, thanks for joining me, and we are looking forward to an exciting night of Carroll County football.
Absolutely, it should be a fun one. It's been a great season so far. A lot of fun games on the docket for tonight. We've already got a couple in progress already, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, we're gonna look at tonight's matchups for Week 6, and then we'll as games have kicked off, and then we'll get into the action here as soon as possible. So Week 6 is shaped up to be a good one. We got 2 games that kick off at 6:30, and then 2 more at 7 p.m. We'll go ahead and take a look at the matchups for tonight's games. We have Liberty taking on Francis Scott Key. We have Century at Winters Mill. We have South Carroll at Manchester Valley, and we have Westminster at Damascus. We have some players to watch, too, as we're getting ready closer to kickoff. We're going to look at some of the players to watch in each of the matchups, and we'll start with the Century at Winters Mill game. Century coming into the here we go. Here's Week 6. We'll get to the players to watch. Don't worry about it. We're going to see some live action now. And we mentioned one of the matchups, Nathan. South Carroll at Manchester Valley. There we go. Westminster at Damascus. South Carroll at Man Valley. Liberty at Francis Scott Key. And Century Winters Mill. 3 big county matchups. And then Westminster at Damascus. Not an easy one for the Owls. Yeah,
not an easy one at all. Damascus has been one of Montgomery County's best programs over the last few years. Has won 2 state titles in the last 6 years. Yep. So definitely a formidable program just outside of Carroll County in Damascus. But then those 3 county matchups, South Carroll and Manchester Valley already in progress, 7-0 lead for the Mavericks. And here's those players to watch for Century starting against Winters Mill in about 20 minutes.
Ethan Ashburn, senior receiver, he's come on of late this year. We've seen him make some big plays. Jake Dexter leading the county in passing, and a sure-handed receiver as well, Quentin Duncan on the Winters Mill side. We've seen them run the ball at will when they're at their best. Jake Andolino, one of the top guys in the county. Austin Denning at quarterback, uses his legs more than his arm really well. And one of the top defenders, Victor Tejada, a senior who plays some running back as well. The Liberty FSK match, Liberty's players to watch. Kevin Kern anchors the defense. Stephen Puckett, one of their top receivers. And Carter Weddle has come on this year as well, too, on both sides of the ball. Look for him to make some plays on defense for the Lions. Francis Scott Key, of course, Jacob Etzler at quarterback. Chase Raploga, one of his top players on offense. And George Taku, one of the top runners in the county, who plays some defensive back as well. So the offense goes as George goes as well for the Eagles, and they've been struggling right now, looking for a win against a Liberty team. Some teams desperate to get a win there between the Lions and the Eagles.
Yeah, and you go back to that Century Winters Mill game, Pat. We were talking right before we came on about how this game is going to be a huge deciding factor as to who can stay alive for the county race. South Carroll not in the county race at the moment, but they're playing Manchester Valley, who's right at the top along with the Owls.
And looking for their first win as well. And there's the Man Valley players to watch. Atkinson on defense. Walter Salee, we saw him with a 65-yard touchdown on defense last week. And Connor Stack, the man in the middle for Man Valley's offense, he goes as they go on the ground. So again, like Nathan said. And then Westminster's playing Damascus. Nick Comfer leads the county in rushing. Gabe Lee in the middle of the defense, and Braden Troop. All 3 facets of the game for most of those guys on Westminster. It's going to be a tough task tonight against Damascus. But you mentioned South Carroll Man Valley. I think we're going to go to that game now and pick it up in progress, and we'll start talking a little bit about what's happened there so far at the stable in Manchester, and that's a big game for the Mavericks because they get a win against South Carroll. They're 4-0 in the county and technically would bump ahead of Westminster for first place.
Yeah, it would be that half-game lead going into that matchup next week against Westminster. So huge game for Manchester Valley, but also on the South Carroll side, 0-5. Don't have your starting quarterback, Braden Maslowski, out with a concussion this week. Really scary injury last week. We hope that he can return as soon as possible. But that's a game for Manchester Valley that, you know, has a lot at stake. South Carroll's got nothing to lose. Nobody's expecting them to win. It's only a one-score game right now, still early. But don't expect this to be a game where Manchester Valley just runs away with it.
Yeah, and also, you know, we talk about trap games. You talk about them as, you know, just be careful, right? Because, you know, South Carroll's coming in, like you said, house money, so to speak, nothing to lose. So we're going to take a look at what's happened so far between the Mavericks and the Cavaliers. Nathan mentioned they kicked off just a few minutes ago up in Manchester, and it was a quick drive, I thought, early on for the Mavericks. A nice defense there from South Carroll. Nick Pizzuto with a good play, but we saw them get the opening kickoff and sort of marched on the field, and there's Connor Stack doing what he does best.
Yeah, he's been doing this all season long. Had a couple of big plays on this drive. Malachi Grosh had a big reception to start off the drive, but it's Stack right up the middle off tackle there at the last second, putting Manchester Valley up 7-0. That's where it stands now, over halfway through this opening quarter.
It was a pretty impressive drive by the Mavericks. And you mentioned South Carroll. They're shorthanded. They've been shorthanded all year. The extra point was good for the Mavericks. It's a game you don't look past, but it's a game you know that if you're Man Valley and you're playing well, playing your game, you're the better team, you know, on paper, and you're the better team on the field based on the depth and things like that, what they've done so far.
Yeah, we talked about it. 3-2 overall, back-to-back wins at Liberty, at home against Winters Mill. 3-0 in the county. If you can get to that 4-0 mark, all the momentum going into next week, you're going to need it against a Westminster team that's just forced a turnover at Damascus, is playing well tonight already. And that's a really tough opponent they're facing. They're going to be battle-tested as well going into next week's crucial battle. Yeah,
we'll see how they got here at the Owls and the Swarming Hornets down in Montgomery County. A tough road contest for Westminster, and it's going to be the Owls taking the opening kickoff here. Made some nice a nice kickoff return here. Jacob Devilbitz, but I believe the Owls had a 3-and-out coming up there, so they gave the ball back to Damascus. Damascus does get the ball here though after some nice runs. Westminster's in the backfield a few of these times, Nathan. They had a chance to bring down some of the ball carriers for Damascus, but were just unable to. But then did stop them a little bit. And then here's Rory O'Connor, quarterback, using his legs, get out past the 40. There was a fumble. Damascus had the ball and coughed it up, and the Owls recovered. Gabe Lee, I think it was, that recovered the fumble. So we're going to go live now to Manchester Valley in South Carroll, and it looks like a fourth down coming up here at the stable in Manchester. Bo Snell, the quarterback, and I think they're going to get South Carroll to jump. So that's been a little bit of the microcosm of what's been bugging the Cavaliers.
Yeah, Austin Dietrich at that left defensive end spot right there looks like he was the guilty culprit. Still could be a fourth down here, though, Pat. It seems like that's the case. Bo Snell going to go back into the huddle here.
Right. Look, you're right about that. Yeah, the scoreboard operator at Manchester not doing the down and distance, so we're trying our best to look at the sticks. So I think Nathan might be right. So it was a fourth and long, now fourth and shorter. This is Man Valley's second drive, I believe.
Got him to jump again.
Wow.
On the right
South
side
Carroll,
this
a little
time.
antsy here.
Yeah, it's never...
Armin Savakui, I believe, the guilty party there. So now we'll see if that's enough for a first down.
Yeah, it's never something that you want to see Coach Crumley emphasizing discipline to his guys. Got the chance to play under Coach Crumley and some of those other coaches during my time here in the county. Not something that, you know, is obviously going to be welcomed going into the remainder of the game. And a huge break there for Manchester Valley, able to get those 10 penalty yards. And according to that umpire, it is a first down.
First down, but they are backing it up. So I saw the first down signal, but now they are backing it up near maybe the 48-yard line. Maybe the spot was wrong. Either way, it looks like it's going to be a first down in Manchester. And not what you want to have back-to-back, you know, encroachment offsides on defense when you're trying to stop them on fourth down.
Yeah, we talked about it for South Carroll, right? 0-5, winless in the county at 0-3 as we take a look at Westminster now. But back to South Carroll quickly.
Case and Doan, nice run by The Owls, yeah, go ahead. They're down inside the
Yeah,
10.
back to South Carroll. It's those little things that they're not going to be able to have afford, not go their way if they're going to try and win this one.
All right, so 1st and 10 now, Mavericks from the 48-yard line of the Cavaliers. Snell tosses the Stack. Stack's got some room to run around that left side. Oh, Connor Stack breaking out all the way down at around the 30-yard line. Yeah, right at the 30, so a big run there for the senior Maverick, and he'll move the chains. Now we'll head to Damascus, and we had a goal-to-go situation, and it's going to be Cason Doan who cuts it back to the left side, and Cason Doan into the end zone. So the Owls, I believe, score first in this game after Damascus was moving the ball, had the turnover, and the Owls make the home team pay.
Getting points off of turnovers is such a crucial part of the sport, no matter what level you're at. And so for Westminster to go onto the road in a very hard place to play at Damascus and force that turnover in their own side of the field and then go on that long drive, not doing it anything too crazy, but methodically going down. You saw that run from O'Connor and then Doan at the end there with the 6-yard touchdown run. That's the bread and butter for Westminster. They've been able to do it through the air, through the ground this year. They've been pretty dominant overall, only that one blemish on their record, and a really good start for them tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. And you see the season they've had. They've been without the county's leading rusher, Jack Hitchcock, who's been dealing with an injury all year. It hasn't quite healed the way they wanted to. His status is in doubt for the rest of the season. Oh no, what are you going to do? Well, Nick Comfer steps in. And by the way, through 5 weeks, he's leading the county in rushing, and he just has helped them here, although that was Cason Doan, who also was nursing an injury this season, and he's back on the field. So getting guys back late in the season could bode well for the Owls.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see our fair share of Comfer highlights tonight. 583 yards, 6 touchdowns, 7 total, just under 10 yards per carry as Salih's able to pick up a first down for Manchester Valley. But Westminster's able to do it in so many different ways, so many different playmakers, and that's what not only makes them competitors to win the county, but competitors to make some noise at the state level as well.
Going to have to deal with Linganore at some point in the 3A side. They're one of the top teams in the state, but in the region, depending on where they're seeded, of course, we'll still have a few weeks to go to sort of map the seeds out. But if they can stay away from a couple of those big boys early on, they can get into the state playoffs. Then you never know. You roll the dice. So here we go. Final seconds of the first quarter, and Man Valley down in scoring position once again. Bo Snell puts a man in motion and gives it to the man in motion.
It's Nick Ferrano.
It was Nick Ferrano, and let's see here. Some extracurricular, and again, South Carroll. Just a little too much, oomph there. Brendan Harrison, I think 44, one of the players to watch we had mentioned. But a little aggressive there on defense, and a personal foul. So it's South Carroll can't get out of their own way right now. It's a different team than we saw a few weeks ago, and they competed hard against Liberty, competed hard against Century, fell short, didn't have that same oomph last week. And I know they had the injury to Mazalewski, which took the wind out of their sails, but South Carroll dealing with it right now with a winless start to the season.
Yeah, it's tough, and I've been there. My junior year at South Carroll, we went through something very similar. Didn't get our first win until the last game of the season against Key back in 2019, and you just have to continue to find ways to look at the positives. Now, when you have all these defensive penalties, that's kicking yourself in the foot, so you have to be able to overcome those and come up with stops when you need them. Even though that Manchester Valley's gotten a lot of help from South Carroll on this possession, there's still a chance here for South Carroll to make a stop, force a turnover. You never know.
Sure. I think I heard it's 1st and 10 from the 16 for Man Valley, so clock running. 20 seconds to go. Defense stacked up there for the Cavs. Snell gives to Stack, and Stack again with some room around that left side. And he's down near the 5-yard line, maybe? So
and look, he
nice
got inside
nice pickup
before the 3, but there was a hold there
there's a flag
against Manchester Valley, it looks like.
Yep. I've been impressed with, with Nathan, with the way Man Valley has turned their season around. They were a 2-win team last year, and they're up to 3-2. They had started this year 0-2, and have turned it around in a big way. You get credit to Coach Bernie Kuntz. He had some guys back from last year. We talked to them in August about what's the makeup of the team as we went around and did all of our previews. There wasn't necessarily they didn't know, but there were some question marks because they graduated their quarterback, they graduated their anchor of their defense, they graduated their top receiver. What was going to happen? Well, the guys have filled in pretty well. Walter Salih has become a target for them and a good player. We knew what Stack was going to do. John Day comes in and does well. And Bo Snell has run the offense pretty well here for Man Valley in his first year.
Absolutely, and you saw Ferrano get a touch. He's just a sophomore, so just getting so many younger guys involved.
Stack again, another flag I think flew. Ooh, look out. So he got rolled up under on Spizzuto there, but a flag came in from the far side. So we'll see what happens there. But it just takes a couple wins to pile up, and you get that confidence, Nathan. And we talked about it when we were at Man Valley against Winters Mill. And you know, Winters Mill scored first, and how's it going to go? Man Valley makes the adjustments and pulls away for the win, and a nice low-scoring win, but a good win for the Mavs. Got them going in the right direction.
And this is just a theme around the county, but just grinding it out, finding the way to win. It's not always going to be pretty. Manchester Valley had to come back against Key. They had to come back against Winters Mill, even though that was, you know, not that big of a deficit. They took that lead going into the half off the hook and ladder and never looked back after that.
Yep.
And then last week, you know, against Liberty, a 10-0 game where your defense played amazingly. The offense didn't really have many answers, but you're able to pick up that huge score from Salee. You just find ways to win ball games. Yep. And so far, now Manchester Valley kind of hurting themselves a little bit as the quarter flips over. But they're in the lead now. If they can somehow continue to find a way to plug away and just ultimately get the win at the end of the day, they're in a really good spot going into next week.
One quarter in the books, like Nathan said, Manchester Valley 7, South Carroll nothing. We're going to head to where we are heading right now, to Westminster with Damascus. Force a punt did the Owls, so Ori O'Connor back on offense, and I think this is Nick Comfer, like Nathan talked about. Nice cut back inside for a pickup of about 5 or 6, and that's what Westminster wants to do. They want to, the Owls want to get the run game going and then use O'Connor's arm, which is a really good arm, second best in the county this year in passing. We're going to head back to Man Valley live from the stable again, 1 quarter down, and the Mavericks have the 7-0 lead, scored on their first drive, and then held the Cavaliers out of scoring position. And again, like you mentioned, Nathan, the Cavaliers hurt themselves with some penalties on defense that have led to this longer scoring drive. And the Mavs moved a step back, so trying to get their legs under them, both teams here, as we start the second quarter.
And it's Day in the backfield, something to keep an eye out on here. No Stack to begin this second quarter for the Mavericks.
Day got the handoff there and got a couple yards. South Carroll bottled it up pretty well. They can hit you with multiple guys on in the backfield. So I mean, we'll see. You're right. Keep an eye on it. Maybe it's just Day giving Stack a rest, or maybe they just see something here with Day for a minute. But John Day, good player in his own right for Manchester Valley. And you mentioned this before we came on the air. You look at how the Man Valley huddle is, and there's big Colton Nunn, 77, a full head and shoulders of everybody else. He's one of the bigger guys in the county, a big presence and a really good player.
Yeah, just look at his left guard, Christopher Sanchez-Martin, standing next to him. I mean, that's about a 1.5 difference.
And Sanchez-Martin isn't a short guy by any means, but none makes you look short when you're standing next to him. Nice catch there and run. And inside the 5-yard line, so it moved the chains and set up a 1st and goal.
So Wyatt Ziegenfuss for Manchester Valley inside the, what looked to be the 10-yard line.
Yeah. Ziegenfuss, we don't hear his name too often in their offense, but a nice catch there and a nice curl route, or curl and go anyway, and he got inside the 10-yard line. Should be a 1st and goal for the Mavericks.
Yeah, when we were there a couple weeks ago, it was Salee. Lane Saunders was trying to get involved as much as he could. And, of course, Connor Stack out of the backfield. But now in this one, Malachi Grosh has gotten involved. Ferrano with a couple touches, and there's Ziegenfuss getting a nice play for the 1st down.
Snell in the shotgun with Day to his left. And I think South Carroll might have jumped again. He did. So having a trouble with the hard count tonight in Manchester. Yeah, Century and Winters Mill just kicked off, of course, a couple minutes early than their 7 o'clock kickoff time. And then, of course, we have Liberty at Francis Scott Key up in Uniontown momentarily. So fun night ahead of us here. Week 6 is live and well across the Carroll County Athletic League. You can watch all the live games in their entirety on our YouTube channels, and hopefully you can hang out with us as we bounce around the county and give you as much as we can from CCAL Week 6. All right, so clock running in Manchester, 7-0 Mavericks lead after the antsy defense of South Carroll gives the Mavs half the distance to the goal. Well, they're right down near the goal line. A surge forward was Snell. Bo Snell, the quarterback, doesn't run too often. Actually, a nice job there by Austin Dietrich and Rodriguez to bottle that up pretty quickly for South Carroll.
Whole lot going on. There was a big missed opportunity for Century. Doan with another big play for Westminster out there in Damascus. We'll get you that play in a moment. And Manchester Valley right on the doorstep. The captain's walking out in Uniontown for Liberty FSK.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, starting to get the ball rolling here in week 6, Pat.
Absolutely. It was a good kickoff return for Century. They're around midfield. We'll pop into that game here soon. We're just trying to do our best in the scoring chances for each team here. We're going to hit him as much as we can. John Day plunges across the goal line. Oh, did he get in? He did. So John Day gets in from about a yard out, and it'll be a 13-0 lead for Manchester Valley with the PAT pending as the Mavericks go up 2 scores, and they've really done damage here on the ground.
Yeah, and you got to love that for John Day, right? Stack gets a lot of the attention. Bo Snell, of course, the quarterback, will get that garnered attention at that position. But, of course, the first guy to high-five Day as he comes off the sideline is Connor Stack, getting a little bit of a breather. Day had a huge block on Stack's dagger touchdown 2 weeks ago when we were there against Winners Mill. And he's huge on that defense as well as a linebacker. So to have him find pay dirt there, a good moment for him, and Manchester Valley's off to a great start. Touchdowns on their first 2 possessions.
Yep, I'll go back to last year too, as you see our double-barreled action here with FSK Liberty and Winners Mill Century. John Day made his presence known last year in week 2 against North Hagerstown. The Hubs in Manchester going for the win, going for a 2-point play late, and Day made a great play on defense. We actually talked to him after the game as our player of the game, and he was happy to make a contribution for his team, and he's done it ever since, and he's obviously, like you said, part of this year's team as well. So got a punt there by Century. So Century got up to midfield, but Winners Mill's defense held, and the Falcons will get the ball on their first possession here momentarily as we go back to Manchester. 9:06 left in the second quarter, and the Mavericks doing all very, very well right now against South Carroll. See if the Cavaliers can get something going here on offense. A nice big kick back inside the 15. This is Anthony Rodriguez. Makes the first man miss, makes the next man miss. Anthony Rodriguez, a nice run back. Taken down by Caleb Rostick-Albin, number 84, but not before Anthony Rodriguez gets the Cavaliers something going on, some sort of momentum that the Cavaliers desperately need right now.
Yeah, it's always been good for South Carroll to get the ball in the hands of a guy with the last name Rodriguez in the past half decade or so. Of course, AJ, then Manny, and now Anthony.
Yep.
Getting number 0 as many touches for South Carroll is going to be huge.
Paramount,
the rest of this one, the rest of the season as well, as they try to, build some momentum going into the postseason. And of course, we talked about it at the top of the show, but Jackson Kostos in at quarterback. Braden Mazalewski out this week with a concussion.
Kostos keeps it himself, and this is a nice run for the quarterback. Gets a block. Jackson Kostos with a great run for South Carroll. So, yeah, we were there last week, and I was there to do the play-by-play at Parker Field. Things were rough for South Carroll from the start. They didn't expect to lose Braden Mazalewski injury. I think he's okay. It was a little scary scene. He got taken off and sent out with the ambulance. I heard after the game that he actually wanted to get back in the game. He told his coaches, "Hey, can I play?" They said no. And as always around here, as everywhere, you're going to take every precaution if it's an upper body injury, neck, or what have you. Like you said, we did some reporting, found out it was a concussion for Braden, and I think he's going to be out this week and maybe next week against Brunswick will remain to be seen. But the fact that he's getting better is obviously a great sign. He's a good athlete. His brother was a good player. He's been a good player for South Carroll. but Jackson Kostos is getting a chance to do something here for South Carroll. As a run stuffed there by Man Valley. That was Davey Snyder, number 1 for South Carroll, trying to make some hay, and the Man Valley defense. Well, again, pitched a shutout last week. So here we go. We're going to show you some plays from Westminster and Damascus. And Rory O'Connor got the ball out in the flat. And Cason Doan, great block there. Doan out in the backfield, and he is down the sideline inside the 10, all the way down to the 6-yard line. So Cason Doan has done a great start to this game. And there's Nick Comfer, who finds pay dirt. And so if the PAT was good, the Owls have a 14-0 lead over Damascus. Great start for Westminster. There's the PAT, and it is good. Trevor Wallace boots it through. So, wow, Westminster is firing all cylinders here to start this game.
As good of a start as you can ask for if you're Chris Bassler and company. How about Kason Doan with what he's been able to do so far? Gets the touchdown on the first drive, play action bootleg for O'Connor. An easy concept, right? But that turns into a 50-yard gain for Doan, showing off that speed and the finesse along the sideline, and then that 1-2 combo with Comfer as well that has been leaning a little bit more Comfer's way as the season has gone on, but Doan getting a little bit more of that heavy lifting and the big playability tonight. But they've both found the end zone, and Damascus is in a tough spot here.
Yeah, absolutely. Down 2 scores. Here's Winters Mill Century. DeLon Barnes there down inside the 10, or excuse me, the 15, or maybe that was the 20. But just Century knocking on the doorstep there after Winters Mill had to give the ball back. So yeah, down inside the 15. I was going to Doan. He only has, going into this week, 8 attempts for 39 yards. He was nursing an injury, missed the first few weeks. So Kason Doan, a great 1-2 combo last year with Jack Hitchcock. Boy, the Owls fans glad to see number 10 back on the field, and fresh legs at that.
Absolutely. And it's really tough to go into Damascus and have the success that they're having. Exactly,
yeah, right.
You know, of course, the track record for the Hornets is huge.
Sure,
but
pedigree.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of success this year, but you know, each game's different, right? You never know what one game is going to lead to another. Westminster won big last week against South Carroll. They've had some tighter contests throughout the season. They're taking that momentum they got in Winfield last week, and they carried it right with them into Montgomery County.
Back to Man Valley. Costos going deep, and it's going to be intercepted. Is that Walter Salee again? Walter Salee. Not a bad throw by Costos, but into traffic. That's the 4th interception for Salee, and he was tied for the lead with Isaiah Talkish of Winters Mill and Amarian Warfield of Westminster, so it gives Salee his 4th. And a turnover on down, sort of an arm punt, but not, you know, you want South Carroll to offense you anyway. You wanted South Carroll to make some moves there, and Costos tried to go to the air, and Salee will not let him complete the pass. Now here we go back to Eldersburg. There's a give. That's Joey Tumanello. Interesting play. Yeah, it was almost a dive play, but from about 6 yards out, and Tumanello pushed forward with his offensive line, so a touchdown for Century.
That's the opening. That's the opening drive for the Knights, and you know we didn't carry on too much about this, but looking at the county standings overall and just what this means to both of these teams.
Big game.
Whoever loses this game falls out of the race for the county title. Of course, next week's Man Valley Westminster game, if that Man Valley score holds, will essentially be for the county title unofficially.
Sure.
It'll put that team in the driver's
Definitely
seat,
the driver's
albeit
seat,
if Man Valley were to beat Westminster, that would pretty much lock it up because they would be 5-0. They would have the tiebreaker over Winters Mill. They'd have the tiebreaker over Westminster at that point. They'd still have to play Century the following week to, you know, put that on ice for sure.
So big games though with Century Winters Mill and Man Valley trying to hold on to this South Carroll score, and yeah, like you said, it's almost like knockout games next couple of weeks. It's make it fun.
I mean, second half of the season, every game, every snap means that much more. And for Manchester Valley getting ready to go with drive number 3, they're backed up again, stacked back out there. Let's see if they get 34 involved.
Yeah, they did the minute ago, gave it to Stack, and Brendan Harrison met him in the backfield. So Harrison there, 44, you see him jumping around in his linebacker position. Snell pump fake. Pocket evaporates. Snell gets away from Harrison, but doesn't get much more.
He was looking for Salee downfield. That play was drawn up for number 11 in that navy blue. The fake to the outside, they sent Salee on the go route. Manchester Valley's had the big plays with Salee. We talked about the hook and ladder. He had the defensive score last week, the lone touchdown in that game. He just had the interception, and so getting number 11 involved is clearly a priority for Manchester Valley, and that was their third down play right
looks
there.
Like South Carroll held them, so a nice job by the Cavaliers defense. PAT was no good. I mentioned that game was actually it's not at Century, it's at Winters Mill because it's Winters Mill's first home game since week 1. So they had their season opener September 5th, and they won't return home till October 10th. But the game is at Big Mill, and they denied Century the extra point. So a 6-0 score there, and we'll get you to that game as well. Scoreless with Liberty and Francis Scott Key.
Homecoming tonight at Winters Mill, start of a 3-game homestand for them. So with their county hopes,
Yeah, huge
on
game.
the line. They get that bounce back
Huge
win
game.
last week after the loss to Manchester Valley. And let's see if this rushing attack can get going, that triple monster of Denning, Andalina, and Phillips.
There you
Go
go.
to the quad box.
Nathan's favorite thing right there. And is that another touchdown for Westminster? Xavier Howard. Wow. The Owls are on fire to start this game. How about a quad box for you, Nathan?
And a 20-0 lead for Westminster. How about it on the road?
Whoa, there's a big hole. Anthony Rodriguez has some daylight. So a lot of things happening here as we show you some live look-ins. There's Jake Andalina, top right of your screen for Winners Mill. Big first down run for South Carroll. There's Jacob Etzler for Key, top left. I think he was carrying the ball there, number 13.
Carter Rhodes.
Oh, it's Carter Rose. Okay, my bad. Yep, I was the wrong number. Quarterback Etzler is 18. Yeah, 18, not 13. So kind of a weird stat, an anomaly, if you will, that Jacob Etzler I think, surprised me when the coach turned their stats in, and he has one touchdown pass this year. Now, they've scored touchdowns, but they've been mostly on the ground. George Taku has 5 of them going into the week, but just surprised that they haven't gotten that aerial attack going with what they had back. And Jacob Etzler is a good quarterback.
Absolutely.
Just one of those things. We'll see how the rest of the regular season develops. Here's a look in now full to Winners Mill as the Falcons in their all burgundy unis tonight with the helmets and pants and jersey. Good contrast to Century's green and white and gold. All right, here we go back. This might be
another look at that
look
touchdown.
In. Yep, okay.
And so, looking at Howard's stats on the season, 11 receptions, 322 yards coming in. The yards, third in the county. 5 touchdowns, led the county as a receiver, and it's that 9 route as the slot receiver. He's been doing this all season long, those big plays. Some of them haven't gone for touchdowns. This one does, 30-plus yards there from 1 to 4 for Westminster.
Huge start.
They could not be playing any better right now.
Absolutely.
3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, the big screenplay. They forced a turnover as there goes Rodriguez for South Carroll.
So the Cavs got something going. That was a Rodriguez patient run. He waited for the hole to develop
Rodriguez on the carry.
and got about 20 yards maybe at least. They're down inside the 15-yard line, or down by the 15-yard line. So Cavaliers on the move here as we're approaching 4 minutes to go in the first half. And you said it, Nathan, hit the nail on the head. You get the ball to 0 as much as you can if you're South Carroll, and more often than not, good things are going to happen. Nice catch there, too. The rare Austin Denning throw completed to Andalina, I believe, for a first down.
You don't see Denning complete that many passes, and you don't see Andalina catch that many passes.
But he can do it.
Out of the backfield. So for Denning coming in this game, only 14 completed passes for 161 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he did have 367 rushing yards. So clearly the identity of the Winners Mill offense, and we talked about it when we did that game, Pat, is they're going to run the football. They're going to have 8 keep the ball. They're going to give it to 5 and 9, Andalina and Phillips, as much as they can. They have Jarrell Baker as well as an option in the ground game. We haven't seen that as much this year. He's been more of a defensive player. But there's, at any given play, an option for Denning to keep the football, and that's something that Century's defense is going to have to really hone in on tonight.
That was a toss to Phillips, or a toss to Andalina with a block by Phillips. Back to South Carroll Man Valley. The Cavaliers down inside the 20-yard line, so red zone opportunity for South Carroll. Definitely wants some points here. Rodriguez cuts that back and makes something out of nothing there. Got down to about the
5-yard line.
Yeah, about 5-yard line. So, yeah, they're closer than I thought.
Anthony Rodriguez on the carry. Christopher
Nothing too much
Martin on the tackle.
pivotal right now. South Carroll, the closest one into the red zone. Liberty just got it back at the Liberty FSK game. I believe that was a turnover on downs for the Eagles deep in Liberty territory.
Yeah, then they looked like sorry to cut it off, Sean Case took off with the ball. It came out, popped out of his hands as he went down, and then Stephen Puckett fell on it. So either way, Liberty has the ball. You're right. So about 5 minutes ago in the first quarter there. Those games are going to be kicked off at 7. Century at Winners Mill, 6-0 Century, and then no score, Liberty and Francis Scott Key. And a timeout, I believe, at Manchester Valley. It might have been South Carroll that called the timeout, so 2:44 to go there in the second quarter. Man Valley 14, South Carroll 0. Might be homecoming there as well. There's a few homecoming games here tonight. So
Getting to that point.
Winners Mill, I believe, Keys was last week. I think Man Valley's is tonight. Westminster's maybe tomorrow, next week, so a big game next week. Like you mentioned, Owls and Mavericks from Ruby Field, where they haven't been yet.
Right.
It'll be their first time there this year as a full game. The first 3 weeks were Road Warriors by default because of the light pole situation. We talked about that. They're back now. They're installed. Nice run there by Liberty. Nice defense by FSK to bottle it up. And a big game here, too. I mean, you know, Nathan, we mentioned Century Winters Mill and the stakes it has. That game has stakes as well, does the Liberty FSK game. They desperately need wins there. Lions trying to turn their season around. There's a false start there by South Carroll. And Key just has been a frustrating start to the year, 1-4 through 5 weeks, and some games that they were in back and forth and fell short. Last week scored first against Winters Mill. Winters Mill scores 20 unanswered and beats them. So got to turn things around in Uniontown.
Yeah, it's frustrating for both teams in this one, and both teams that really need that win to get back into the thick of things as Case just lets it fly. They had a big play to get into this spot. Maybe we could run it back and show there was a big connection to Stephen Puckett.
It was, yeah.
Down the right sideline.
If we don't get to that, that was an incomplete pass trying to get to Callum Greco, number 14. Or was it 13? Yeah, I think it was 14, yeah. So second and 10 now, as Nathan mentioned, the Lions are in FSK territory. Under 4 to go in the first quarter.
Now a bunch of teams driving. Liberty into FSK territory, South Carroll on the doorstep. We'll show a highlight from that in a moment, and Winters Mill deep into Century territory as well.
And he got taken down with authority there by Century's defense. Matthew Ford, I was trying to find Matthew Ford, 52, so a nice job there by Ford. Keep Denning from doing any more damage there on the ground, which we talked about. All right, here's a live look, full look anyway at Liberty FSK. Case played halted there, 3rd and 14, and no play. So we'll wait a minute. But yeah, both these squads. I mean, Liberty fought tooth and nail with Westminster on that Thursday night. There was a rain delay in that game and came up short, and then just didn't quite have the answer against Man Valley. A defensive struggle like you mentioned, and no points to show for it. Here we go live again to South Carroll Man Valley, and Jackson Costos, touchdown. Nice pass, nice catch.
Touchdown.
Jake Miller, number 2. So old reliable for South Carroll. When in doubt, if you're going to go to the air, get to the big target, Jake Miller, and the Cavaliers on the board.
He's been their go-to guy, like you mentioned this year, Pat. At the receiver position, coming in 258 yards. That's his 3rd touchdown of the season. Big-bodied receiver, and just throw it up there to him as a fade and make it happen.
Use the mismatch. You know, Miller has the size and the height, and the extra point is good. So 2:35 to go. South Carroll avoids the shutout. They're on the board. They didn't score any points last week against Westminster. Here's Sean Case at FSK. Oh, and a nice grab along the sideline. They're going to say it's a catch. Give that one to Carter Weddle. We mentioned him as one of the players to watch for Liberty. He does a lot on defense. He made a nice catch there on offense to move the chains and get Liberty closer to scoring territory.
Well, Puckett had a big play on this drive. They tried to get it to Greco. Now, Weddle has a big play. Liberty on the doorstep trying to score first. South Carroll gets on the board, makes that a 7-point game. Talked about how it's not going to be that easy for Manchester Valley. Century just got the ball back deep in their own territory. Westminster now heading into the halftime break with a 3-touchdown lead.
A quick half at that, but yeah, 3-touchdown lead for Westminster. So they're at the break. You're not missing anything there.
We just had a big change in that South Carroll Man Valley game when we can get there. But
20-0 Westminster. We'll show you that play in a moment between South Carroll and Man Valley, although we'll see if they give it to the points on the board or not. But a big change as after the kickoff for the Cavaliers, who had just scored on the pass, might be coming back. So we'll get to it. But here we go. We're going to show you here. So the Mavericks got the ball back after that 14-7, or after the 14-0 lead was cut to 14-7. And here's what happened. Bo Snell drops back to pass, tries to throw it out in the flat, picked off Davey Snyder, and Davey Snyder takes off down the near sideline. He got in the end zone, but I believe there must have been a flag back on the interception return, but I think that interception is going to stand. But South Carroll's got the ball
is
back
a
past
flag on the
midfield, but
play.
still a turnover there with 2:10 to go. The Cavaliers have a chance, if they remain on offense, to tie the game.
Yeah, unclear if it's I saw the personal foul signal from the official. Now, whether that was
you're
roughing
right.
the passer,
Yeah,
Snell
you're
was
right, 'cause
hit.
the offense is back on the field.
Right, Snell
Oh,
was
okay.
hit as he threw.
Okay.
And then there was that whole barrage as well. As there goes Case into
So,
the end
That was
zone.
a busted play, Nathan, and Case just pirouetted, and there was no Eagle defender on the right side, and Sean Case finds the end zone, and it's a 6-0 Liberty. The crazy play there that goes Liberty's way.
Just make do with what you have,
Yeah.
right? And
Meant to
Case,
do that, right?
Case has the speed and the size
Yeah.
to win those battles out to the edge.
Case, good athlete, plays other sports as well, and has been handed the reins of the offense. It's taken him some time to get going, and he's shown some signs. And that was a good mental, had the mental acuity there to turn and not let the busted play go for naught. So the PAT pending here, the left-footed kicker, Austin Decker, and the point is good. So late first quarter there. Again, those games kicked off at 7, did Liberty FSK and Century Winners Mill. And so the Lions score first, 7-0 Liberty over Francis Scott Key. So you were right. So it was a penalty on South Carolina's defense during the interception or during the play. So unfortunately, for the Cavaliers anyway, they do not get the ball, and the Mavericks are up, and they have it out past midfield. So it must have been a roughing the passer.
Yeah, had to have been, because if it was during the interception, it just would have been South Carroll's ball going, of course, towards the Manchester Valley end zone. But
Right.
now Man Valley back in business, avoiding disaster after a pick six that would have tied the game after the PAT for South Carroll. But that's what we talked about earlier, Pat, is that the South Carroll team, yes, they might not have a win yet this season. They might have lost big last week, but that's a scrappy team, a team that showed a lot of fight in this first half, and they're one penalty away from having this be a tied game.
Yeah, and the way it started, it had the look of like, here we go again. Man Valley's imposing their will on South Carroll. The Cavs didn't have much of an answer. They're making defensive mistakes. They shorted up a little bit. They took advantage of the last possession. They got some big runs by Rodriguez, and scored on the pass to Jake Miller. So South Carroll righted the ship for now in this game. Man Valley still leads 14-7, and they've got the ball with under a minute to go. You see our triple box there. You got Liberty kicking off to Key in the top left. You got 6-0 Century in the top right as the quarter comes to an end. And here's Bo Snell at the bottom. Did he get that pass completed? He did not. So tried to get it to Malachi Grosh, and incomplete pass. That's 4th down. So for the moment, South Carroll has held Man Valley. Man Valley's behind the sticks. They're going to have to punt, I believe. So impressed with South Carroll's second quarter here, Nathan. They're doing a really much better job than they did in the first quarter.
No doubt about that, and they're going to have some time here. Not too much time, of course, only about 40 seconds, and that is before the punt here. So it's going to be interesting to see if South Carroll has some time to make something happen going into the end of the half, and if not,
well, that
oh
helps.
boy.
That might help South Carroll. The punt was bad, but Bo Snell does get it off. Nice job on it. It hit a South Carroll helmet.
oh,
Let's see
man.
what they call here. Let's see what they call. Holy moly.
Just the way the coach drew it up.
It is. It's
Yeah.
going to be with Man
Wow.
Valley's ball. Well, we saw Man Valley Winners Mill have a play like that down the
Exactly
stretch
right.
there too, and just, boy, South Carroll didn't do anything wrong there. Just unfortunately the punt, because of the jailbreak, Bo Snell has to punt it on the fly. Here, we're going to see that play again. Watch it develop.
So what happens is, and you're right, Pat, we saw this exact same thing happen at the
similar.
end of that Winners Mill Man Valley game. High snap, Snell does whatever to get this off. It's a scramble, Joe, right? It's a panic. Get the ball, see what I can do. He punts it away, he gets it off, then Ryan Stankiewicz tries to catch
I
it in
think
the
you're
air,
right.
through the hands, off the helmet, recovered by Manchester Valley, and now they're going to have 30 seconds and a couple of timeouts to try and go down and have some magic
Yeah.
again at the end of the half.
Yeah, you can't blame Stankiewicz for trying to make a play, but at that moment he's thinking I can just go grab the ball, and obviously doesn't expect Bo Snell's punt to go eye level, and it does. But credit Man Valley for being on the spot there to pick the ball up too as soon as Stankiewicz touched it. So a crazy play there again. Some Man Valley magic. Same thing happened against Winners Mill where the punt got muffed, and here is, well, I thought that was going to be a halfback toss, but it was not, or a halfback option throw, but It was a toss to Phillips. I believe that might be coming back, though. Century sideline pointing the other way. So
it had that
didn't
feel
look like,
to it, right? Like Phillips was just kind of drifting to the sideline. Nobody was going downfield, but maybe he's just going to let it fly. You never know. But you got to think that's in Winters Mill's arsenal, right? They haven't shown it this year, to my knowledge at least. But
no, I haven't seen it either. And we've seen a couple of their games. And look, that penalty is a byproduct of the play. You stretch that play out, you're going to tug a jersey and hold on because you know Phillips has to get around the edge. You see that time and time again. It's a great play, and then it gets called back because it's a lot to ask sometimes of the defenders on the offensive linemen to not give up the jersey. So, unfortunately, that's going backward for Winters Mill. Although they're near midfield still and plenty of time. It's early second quarter.
I'll go back to Uniontown here for Liberty FSK. Already saw that touchdown by Case. In trouble. Francis Scott Key's defense has played well so far. They gave up that one big play to Weddle. But other than that, I think they played well so far. Liberty, though, is just playing a little bit better right now.
Yeah. Liberty had the nice catch from Puckett, like you mentioned, too, to get down in the scoring position. So officials talking with Coach Bernie Kuntz there, you saw, and it looks like, so they may have reversed this. Is it going to be
the only
punting
thing
again? Let's see. For Cameron, they're in punt. No,
this is South Carolina
you're
offense.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So
the only thing that I can think of is that Stankiewicz was not past the line of scrimmage. That's the only thing that would deem that not to be a turnover on South Carolina's punt team, or punt return team rather, but they'll take it and they'll have a chance here to add some points.
Costos trying to get it to Pizzuto. I think that was an incomplete pass. Back to Liberty Key. There's a run still going. Kevin Kern moving the legs there. Nice job by Kern, dragging a couple defenders with him on a 3rd and 2 play. That's enough for a first down. Nice run there, too, by Luke Phillips. That was a pass. Andolina. I get Phillips and Andolina wrong too much. I apologize. Last play of the quarter. Case going up top for Liberty. Oh, and he had hands on it, did Puckett. Nice job there by Hunter Morris, number 30. He is a freshman. Number 30 there, defensive back for Key. Nice job on the senior Puckett. So that's the end of the quarter. And they'll switch sides.
Yeah, and going back to that Manchester Valley-South Carroll game, the other thing that could have happened is a Manchester Valley player touched it before it hit Stankiewicz.
Very well.
So that's another option of where it could have been, and the more likely option, in all honesty, of it hit a Manchester Valley player, then it hit Stankiewicz, then everything kind of broke loose in chaos. So no way of knowing us in real time. We'd have to go back and look at it one more time. Maybe with the bit of a stalemate, we could do that at some point. But for now, South Carroll, only about 12 seconds left. Costos probably going to have to take a shot to the end zone at this point. About 30 yards to go for the Cavalier offense.
And we have Winters Mill driving as well, down at about the 30-yard line. And a nice job there by Century's defense to bottle up Luke Phillips. So that's still 9 minutes to go in that one, and it's a 6-0 score. Century leading, but Winters Mill has it at the 30-yard line of the Knights.
Tackle by Cameron.
A couple nice runs we saw before that from Phillips and Andolina both. One of them was a pass, actually. So Austin Denning completing some passes here later in the season. So
here's the punt one more time, right? Let's take another look at it. So Snell obviously gets it off. And does this hit a Manchester Valley player first?
Or
does it hit anybody?
The other thing was, did it tip off of South Carroll? Did South Carroll get a piece of it and block it first? That's what I was wondering. And would that make it a lot? No, I guess that wouldn't make it a. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Very hard to tell.
Hard to tell, but the officials confirmed with Coach Kuntz, and it didn't seem like Bernie was too demonstrative. So maybe the play made sense to him. It's hard from here, but.
Yeah, bottom line there for Manchester Valley, they did not lose that possession
not.
of the ball going over the head of Snell, and then South Carroll takes over deep in their territory. That game actually just went to the half.
Yeah, they got a pass down there closer and tried to kick a field goal, and it was no good. So halftime at Man Valley, it's 14-7 in favor of the Mavericks, and Century does a good job there, stretching that play out. That's Jake Odelius, number 15. He's one of the top defenders around. He's bouncing up and happy with himself on that play, rightfully so.
4th down.
That brings up 4th down, if I heard the PA announcer properly at Winners Mill. So 4th down in no man's land a little bit, Nathan. Like, you can punt here and pin them back, but you got to try to get some points on the board. I think that's what Coach Matt Miller's thinking about. But I would say on 4th and a little longer here, and we'll see what they do with it. It's going to be more of a throwing down here for Austin Denning. Not that he can't complete it, of course, but we'll see what happens. Drops back. He can also take off and run with it, and that's what he will do. Gets a great block, and he gets the first down. Look at that nice block he got from Andolina. Great job from Winners Mill. That's the threat. That's the roll of the dice you have when you're Winners Mill.
And you got to think of your Century's defense, run first on any given play, right? You see the 2 halftimes we have right now, 21-point lead for Westminster, 7-point lead for Manchester Valley. But for Denning, he's always going to think to run first. Sure. He's going to, take his drop back. He's going to look like he might throw. Maybe there was nobody open downfield on that play, but he has the ability to make those plays happen. A huge 4th down conversion to keep that drive alive for Winners Mill, and here's the ensuing play. Oh man, ball's out. Winners Mill able to get it back. But
Century's defense is coming to play strong here. Speaking of defense, you saw that play while Nathan was talking. It was a sack of Sean Case by FSK's Riley Fitzgibbon. And if he didn't have any other sacks, that's his 4th one on the season. So leading key in that regard. So done a good job of pushing Liberty back a little bit there. Again, just early 2nd quarter at FSK. We'll bounce back and forth to our 7 o'clock kickoff games here. They're both around the same. Well, this game's a little bit further along. Century and Winners Mill. I really can't believe that the Westminster Mastiffs game is already almost over. The half's almost over. That game started just less than an hour ago. We're already going to be in the 3rd quarter here soon. And a big play there too.
A big plays. A lot of plays in bounds, though. It's just kind of the funny thing about football at this level. If you keep the ball in bounds, there's not going to be a lot of time wasted.
That is true. Cameron Jernan there, 56, I believe, for Century, with a big tackle for loss. So about what we expected with these 2 7 o'clock kickoffs. You got a low-scoring game, some defensive-minded teams here. At least that's what they've been so far this season. Century has come from behind each of the last 2 weeks to win. Now this week they have the lead. They were down 2 scores against South Carroll and came back and won. Nathan, they were down 2 scores against North Hagerstown, came back and won, and actually handed the Hubs their first loss of the year. So it could be a huge win to build on for Century, but not an easy challenge here, or an easy opponent in Winners Mill. So here we go. Denning drops back and looks to throw, and the pocket is collapsing quickly, and down he goes. That's Jernan again. So a sack for Cam Jernan. Give him at least 3. He may have 4 now. That might have been back-to-back sacks. I couldn't tell if the previous play was with Denning running it straight or dropping back to pass. Either way, 2 tackles for loss for the senior. Or the junior, rather, excuse me. All right, FSK we go. And the Eagles have the ball. Liberty creeps up on the line. Handoff goes to George Taku. Nice cut. George Taku is down the Liberty sideline. He might go all the way, Nathan. Cuts it back in. Oh, he's down at the 1. Wow.
Oh, they give
him the touchdown. He crossed the goal line. George Taku, how do you do? That's a great run and a great cutback. He's been doing that all year so far for the FSK Eagles, one of the top rushers in all of Carroll County.
Yeah, 566 yards coming in. That's right behind Confer for the 2nd most in the county. That's his 6th touchdown of the season. He's been averaging around 9 yards per carry.
Just 9 yards per carry.
Yeah, just a slight 9 yards per carry. Get another look at that in a moment as Denning sets it up for Phillips.
Well, that's a nice little play call there. That screen pass. They actually did a great job for Winners Mill to get a lot of the yards back they'd lost in those tackles for loss.
Catch made by
yeah, I'd love to get another look at the Taku run if we can.
I'm sure we will. 7-7 though is the score as the PAT was good in Uniontown, so a much-needed answer there by FSK because Liberty had been moving the ball on them pretty well.
And that's the first real sign of life we've seen from the key offense so far. They had that drive at the beginning where they worked into Liberty territory, and here you go. This will be about
a 46-yard
run. 46-yarder for
Look at the cutback.
Taku.
Or the cut, yeah, just the cut to the left. He made a lot of guys miss on that play, and then he uses the jets. He almost gets taken down. 2 guys on him. Oh, he's sitting on top of the defender.
Yeah,
good eyes.
That lunge at the very end. I think he got it.
You're right.
We'll never have the pylon cam, of course.
Well,
but
don't say never, but
never say never.
No, you're right.
I think
replay.
right there at that very end, that last second stretch, he kind of glided over the Century defender, or rather the Liberty defender, excuse me.
I think he was on top of the defender, which helped him stay, obviously stay off the ground. And he, like you said, the lunge was a great job by our camera crew there to get that zoom, honing in on George. George makes plays happen for Key. We talked about Rodriguez. Every team we mentioned tonight has that playmaker that they have to rely on. There's other teams have more than one, of course, but we've mentioned their names already tonight. Tonight's been Case and Doan a little bit for Westminster, but of course Nick Comfer, Connor Stack and Walter Salee, Anthony Rodriguez. For Liberty, it's been Puckett and Kevin Kern, and of course George Taku for FSK, Denning and company for Winners Mill, Dexter, who we haven't seen do much of yet in this one for Century, but stars shine bright, the brightest under the light. So hopefully for all these guys, they can make some more plays as we kick off here in the double box. We have kickoff on the left side. It looks like Winners Mill still has the ball here with 4 minutes to go in the second quarter. Falcons down inside the 20-yard line, maybe down inside the 15-yard line. Yeah, right about the 13, so good shape here for Winners Mill.
Yeah, pivotal spot in the game for them just because of, everything at stake here with, staying alive for the county race.
I beg your pardon. Looks like Century's on offense there. Yeah, it looks like Century's on offense, but still.
Nonetheless, right? Still a huge swing for them. Back at home for the first time in a month, just trying to do whatever they can. And they're facing a tough Century team, a really good quarterback in Jake Dexter, who you talked to earlier this week as the athlete of the week. He's leading the county in passing. A Century team that lives and dies by, the air attack. And we'll see them try and air it out here.
They do. At least they try to, and I believe it's incomplete, but also I believe flags come from the left and the right on that play. So the Knights will get out of the shadow of their own end zone at the very least here. He's trying to get to Quentin Duncan, who we mentioned as a player to watch for Century. So they'll be moving the ball up there for Century. And we're back to FSK, where it looks like it'll be a 3rd and 1 coming up here for the Eagles. No, for the Lions.
It might have been an injury at the end of that play for Winners Mill.
Okay.
I think Isaiah Talkish was in coverage.
Okay.
Was a little slow to get up. We'll see what happens there. Still a 6-0 lead for Century. Back and forth between Liberty and FSK. Back and forth between Man Valley and South Carroll, Westminster. We'll try and get you some more action once that kicks off in a few minutes.
Yeah, it hasn't started yet. It's been a long. There it is. It looks like the teams are back on the field warming up down in Montgomery County. And Coach Chris Basler had this game. Obviously, the kids knew about it 7 weeks ago when we talked about this in August or whatever it was. And they said, this will be a big test for us. We know the county's tough, and we know we have Franklin-Urbana. That game late in the year against Damascus could be a big one. You mentioned this to me too, Nathan, and Coach Basler echoed it, or you echoed Coach. They hadn't played a complete game to the point until last week. I think they felt like last week was about as complete a game as they played. They're picking up where they left off tonight against a really good opponent in Damascus.
Yeah, that's really all you can ask for as the season goes along, right, is how can I improve from the next game to the next game? And being at Maryland, one quote I've heard their coach, Michael Loxley, talk about, for the past couple of years in covering that team was you're always going to see the biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2. And in Westminster's case, that improvement has come a little bit later in the season, and they saw their biggest improvement maybe from week 4 to week 5. Now from week 5 to week 6, I feel like that improvement has gotten even bigger just because of the quality of the opponent in comparing South Carroll to Damascus and what Damascus has been able to do, over the past couple of decades. Just the caliber of that program to go to that place on the road and put up 21 points in the first half. Really dominate. No sign of life from Damascus at all on the offensive side of the football. and Westminster forced the turnover as well on the fumble.
So we had a 4th down here coming up between Liberty and Francis Scott Key. Looks like the Lions are in Key territory, and it looks like Coach Larry Luth is going to bring the punt team out. Probably the wise choice here. Try to pin Key deep and play some defense against the Eagles. So 7-7 your score there. We have a longer break at Man Valley because it's homecoming, like we mentioned. So there's about 10 minutes left in the halftime intermission. And the same down at Damascus. At least we don't know the time, but at least definitely a few minutes remaining before they warm up and get back on the field. If you're Westminster, it's certainly not going to take your foot off the gas. Whoa, big play. Big play, still going, big play for Liberty. Danny Nelson, number 0. Was that a fake punt? Or maybe they just went for it. I was looking down at Westminster for a moment. We'll have to see that play again, hopefully. But either way, we'll go back to it in a minute. But I was mentioning, you're not going to cruise if you're Westminster, but you have 3-score lead. So you just want to run the ball here and keep the ball out of Damascus's hands. But you're in great shape on the road against Damascus. Here it is. So let's see. Oh, absolutely fake punt. Great idea. Worked great. Danny Nelson, woof, laid the wood there on Damian Blizzard, number 7. That's a big play for Liberty. The kind of play you need if you're trying to turn your season around a little bit, right? So great idea.
Wherever you can get that spark, right? And for Danny Nelson, he's been huge on the defensive side of the ball this year. Nearly 40 tackles, a lot of time spent in the backfield.
7 tackles for loss, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of sacks in there as well for Nelson. But why not give him the ball if he's able to, be that caliber of a player as a linebacker? He does play running back. That's his listed position on the offensive side of the ball. He might not get a lot of touches in the, the drive chart per se, but
playmakers, right?
Just get your guys, your most talented guys, the football, and great blocking as well in that play too by Liberty. A lot of times on fake punts, you'll try and see him stretch it outside, but he went right up the gut in between what looked like the guard and the tackle, right there in that B gap, and found a seam and just added more to it. Now Case and the offense are in a great spot looking to take the lead back.
Couple of sidecars. Looks like it was almost a direct snap. Instead, it's Case. And Case goes up top. Oh, he's got Stephen Puckett behind the defense. And a touchdown for Liberty. Stephen Puckett, the big target. Looks a little bit like Tristan West. I'm not going to compare the two, but he has the same body frame and the same height ability. And Stephen Puckett puts Liberty on top 13-7. So they take advantage of the fake punt, and it works out well. All right, here we go. Damascus, Westminster. Back in action, a completed pass, but not much there. So Westminster does a good job to string that play out.
And I love that play calling, going back to the Liberty play for a second, because of, the momentum aspect of the game, right? Big sack here, though, for Century real quick. Looked like that was Christian Prince in there for the Knights.
Ford, Dilius. Yeah, go ahead, though.
Yes, a big play for Prince, but back to Liberty. Getting that momentum off the fake punt and immediately taking your shot. Trying to build something, try and stack those plays together. Perfect time to draw that one up. We've already seen Puckett stretch the defense once tonight down the sideline. That one a little bit more into the middle of the field. But when Puckett's able to win on those go balls, you got to find a way to get him the football, right? And the Lions have been able to do that a couple of times.
So a timeout here. It looked like Denning. Oh, yeah, you mentioned it, the sack. Denning was trying to throw, then decided to try to run forward, and it was nowhere to go. Here's the touchdown again, I believe, to Stephen Puckett. Yeah, you saw 22. Justin Hebert almost put his hands out like it was a direct snap. Instead, it goes to Case, and Case finds Puckett behind the defense. Nice play from Liberty. All right, back we go. 3rd and long coming up for Winters Mill with a minute and a half to go.
Jake Andolino with the carry, tackled by number 6, Carter Wilson.
Oh, a little fast forward action there. Looked like they weren't able to get too much on that play.
Well, it's 4th down now, so looks like it'll be a punt for Winters Mill, and that timeout was called as well.
That's the one, we didn't even see what happened on that play, but the one, you could say fault of this Winters Mill offense is because they rely so heavily on the run, right? How often are you going to be able to execute that? If the opposing defense is, disciplined in their gaps and they tackle well, Wintersville's going to have trouble moving the football, and we saw that when we were at Manchester Valley. Denning ran right through the Mavericks defense right away, 7-minute drive, had no problems, and they didn't score the rest of the game. And Manchester Valley was able to adapt. Century was ready to go from the opening whistle. Wintersville hasn't been able to, get through into the end zone. They've had a couple of good drives, but they've stalled, and that may come from a sense of predictability.
So a punt here from Winters Mill. Takes a Falcons bounce, pretty good bounce, inside the 30. And it'll be at the 29-yard line when Century will take over on offense. So Knights leading Winters Mill 6-0 with 70 seconds remaining in the second quarter. It'll be halftime soon at Big Mill. We still got about 5 minutes left in the break between South Carroll and Man Valley. The Mavericks lead 14-7. Third quarter, Westminster has the ball. Damascus punted. And so Owls lead 21-0 over the Swarming Hornets. There you go.
Here we go, the hot dog race. There we go, bottom left.
We saw that last week or 2 weeks ago when we were there for the Winters Mill Man Valley game as Nick Comfer. Boy, good job by Comfer to make something out of that play. Damascus is not a slouch. This is a little bit of a surprise to me. That's not that Westminster was going to win the game, but it was 21-0 against a team the caliber of Damascus. Very impressive so far from Westminster. This is what I mean. We're going to run the ball for the Owls. We're going to eat the clock up. We're not going to let Damascus touch the ball too much, and we're going to go home with a win.
Yeah, that's a pretty good game plan if you ask me, right?
Second half. Well, when you're up by 21-0,
sure.
That's your play.
Yeah, keep the ball away from the opponent. A keep-away game, you see that a lot in soccer, from time to time, late in the game, just trying to, keep the ball away from the opponent. Lacrosse as well, that happens quite a bit. Football, it's a little bit trickier, as we might have had a big change here.
I think the ball popped out. Taku and Danny Nelson, did he recover that? He might have. So a great stretch of just a few minutes here for Danny Nelson. Let's see what they call. The officials are talking. Like Sean Case says they decline it, and yes, so
ball.
It was a hold anyway, and instead of pushing back on defense, Liberty gets the ball back right around midfield. So big turn of events, like Nathan just said. There's still 5 minutes left in the second quarter, Nathan, so the Lions could go up 2 scores. We might see the play here, yeah.
This is way more important.
More important things, right?
That
looked like a false start. Wait a minute. Near lane. I would have to call bogus on this.
Oh, man.
Just out of the view, we couldn't see who won.
Photo finish, I think you might have been right, though, Pat, with a little bit of an early jump there in lane number 2.
I don't know. The guy thinks he's a hot dog out there trying to win.
Always a fun time. Okay, here's another look at it. Glasses,
Go ahead.
second in from the right.
Go ahead.
Ready? So he goes down. I think they all might have started a little bit early.
I think you might be right. I feel bad for lane 3. He didn't really have what it takes there. Could pass the mustard. Is that what you're supposed to say there? All right, never mind. All right, Century.
Not enough sauce, no matter what.
Winding time down in the second half. That pass goes to nobody. Quentin Duncan was asking for a hold. They're not going to get it. 12 seconds left. All right, let's see. Is this the...
This is the first play out of the fumble for Liberty.
Whoa, going backward
Turf
here.
monster out there in Uniontown tonight.
Andrew McGlynn, who we saw throw a touchdown. We got an injured Lion. Nathan Song, number 60. Let's hope he's okay. We saw Andrew McGlynn throw a touchdown to Stephen Puckett in 2 weeks ago against Westminster. A nice play. Little halfback toss, which I thought we were going to see in this Century Winters Mill game with Luke Phillips, I think it was, right? But
yes.
Instead he ran the ball. You never know what you're going to see. We saw hook and ladder. We've seen a halfback toss. We've seen a fake punt tonight.
Football.
That's right. High school football. Carroll County football. And so it looked like Westminster gave the ball back to Damascus, but down inside the 20 are the Hornets. And that pass is incomplete. So Winters Mill doing a good job neutralizing the top thrower in the county. And Jake Dexter hasn't done too much with it yet.
And Winters Mill just playing kind of a brackets coverage right there, sticks even, just not letting anything get behind him. Dexter was trying to exploit the middle there and just see if they can make something happen with the pitch play, but not much. And there's going to be just a punt here for Century at the tail end of the half.
But could end the half, yeah.
We've already seen a couple of weird plays on punts. We've seen a fake punt. We've seen a snap go over Bo Snell's, the punter's head. Century was able to get this punt off, though, and and that'll run out the half at Winters Mill. So we'll keep you here with the Liberty FSK game.
Yeah, false start, so the half will come to an end. Like Nathan said, Century 6, Winters Mill 0. Man Valley and South Carroll kicking off in a few moments. Mavs lead 14-7. Damascus has the ball down at the 25-yard line their own, and they're down 3 scores. It's third quarter action there in Montgomery County. And like Nathan said, 4:40 and counting, a second and long for Liberty in Uniontown. I think I just saw Isaiah Taylor add another sack to his ledger, and he is a menace on the side of that defensive line for Westminster. We'll get to that in a little bit. Here we go, second and long, as Sean Case fakes the handoff, and Case gets good protection. He winds up. He's going down deep. Oh, and it's caught! Oh, my. Callum Greco stayed with it. That's a heck of a catch by Greco, and a huge bomb goes Liberty's way, and they have opened it up here against Francis Scott Key. Look at the kid in the background. He can't believe it either in the red sweatshirt. I can't either, kid.
I can't believe that throw
I
from
know.
Sean Case. I mean, Liberty's always had quarterbacks that have been able to throw the ball deep, right? You think of the Nathan Kents, Jack Pellicciotti's of the world, at least
Chase Miller.
Miller, of course, from the guys went around I was playing. But Sean Case is right
Got a
there
good
with him in
arm.
terms of arm talent.
Got a
I mean,
good
he
arm.
let that one fly. What a catch, though, too, on the other side by Greco, who was an intended target on a deep ball earlier in the game, and it was just a little bit out of his reach. This one almost out of the reach. That was a snow cone catch, if you will, for Greco. Here's another look at it. I mean, let's see where Case throws this ball from. The ball snapped at the 40, but Case lets it fly from the 34. And where does
20.
Greco catch this?
Right at the 20.
20, 19 maybe? And
Yeah.
tiptoes down the sideline. So what's that, 31? That's nearly a 50-yard throw in the air
Pretty good.
for a high school quarterback.
Here's Jake Miller as we go live to South Carroll Man Valley. And Miller, the sure-handed receiver, makes another catch, just a ho-hum Jake Miller catch. He does it as well as anybody in the county, and he's one of the bigger targets you can throw to. So a welcome sight when you're Jackson Costos coming in off the bench. Hey, what can I do? I can get it to Rodriguez, I can get it to Jake Miller, and good things are usually going to happen. So I think Man Valley moved the chains there. South Carroll moved the chains there.
Yeah, and remember, they had the pick 6 with Davey Snyder that would have tied the game pending the extra point, get taken
Called
off
back.
the board.
That's right.
So South Carroll has the momentum at this point in the game. A long break with the halftime, though. We'll see if they can tie things up on the opening drive. Good start to Miller, and now they give it to Rodriguez.
And what a confidence boost it would be if the Cavaliers could do something on this drive. Just, getting shellacked at home last week and a sour taste, and it hasn't gone your way this year. It's got to be hard every week to come out and get ready and suit up. And kudos to South Carroll for getting off the mat and being like, hey, we're going to go on the road here, and we're down 2 scores. We're not going to let this one get away from us too much. Right now, anyway, it's still a 1-score game as...
Oh, what a kickoff.
Yeah, that was a great kick. But it could be a good return. Not too bad. That was Damian Blizzard, number 7. The kick, I think, if you're Key, you're hoping it rolls to the end zone, and it just sort of died out there inside the 2. Then you got to pick it up. It's a live ball, and Liberty's in hot pursuit on their special teams unit. So things going Lions' way here. 21-7 is the score, and Liberty already 3 times the amount of points they had last week. Scores anyway. All right, Man Valley fans making themselves felt here. Costos just got to get rid of it. Pressure there. Nice catch on the sideline by the coach, but the perils of the cameraman in the bleachers, right? You see the earthquake, and it's just the Mavs fans getting rowdy, trying to cheer their team on there, and it worked. All right, FSK with the ball. Got to have something happen here with 4 minutes to go in the second quarter. There's a pass. Ooh, trying to get it to Rhodes. Incomplete. Puckett with a big pop.
Eckler's pass intended for number 13.
That ball had already hit the ground. We got an injured Damascus player, so nothing happened in there. You're not missing anything there, although the Owls are down at the 15-yard line, so threatening to score again is Westminster. Costos steps up from the pressure, gets away from the first man, and the second man slows him down. But Costos, let's see, it was 4th down. Did he get enough to move the chains? Wow. Man Valley says no. Colton Nunn says, here's your towel. Nice job by Costos to make a few men miss, and he is short. So nice effort from Costos, but turnover on down, so Man Valley will get it back with that 1-score lead.
I'll tell you what, though, I've been really impressed by the way he's played in this game.
I
He's
agree.
been very poised, very good pocket presence, knows when to escape. He's been stepping up in the pocket. He's had a couple of really good completions, a couple of close completions. We didn't show you one at the end of the half where he had a completion down the sideline to keep that drive alive, or at least give South Carroll a chance at maybe a Hail Mary attempt or something like that. And then he just missed Jake Miller on a corner route, which I don't believe we saw in real time either.
Of course, he has the touchdown pass as well. So.
Yeah, of course. And, it's so tough when, we've seen what Braden Mazalewski has meant to South Carroll on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Kostos has played a lot of defense this year, but, it's tough when you're not getting a lot of reps at the quarterback position, whether that be in practice or in the game. But Kostos has come into this one and given South Carroll a chance as Stephen Puckett keeps giving Liberty a chance.
Great play there by Puckett. Etzler threw into a little bit of traffic there, but too many Lions defenders and things not going Key's way here. That's going to be a Liberty chance to put more points on the board. Still plenty of time left in this first half. And before that play, before we bounced to that game, we had Connor Stack with a big run for Man Valley. So the Mavericks up at the 45-yard line. Third quarter is a few minutes old here, and the Mavericks already on the move against South Carroll after they turned the ball over on downs on the 4th and short, or came up short. Stack again, I believe, and nice tackle there by South Carroll's Ryan Stankiewicz. Still break at Winners Mill as part of their homecoming festivities, about 8 minutes before they resume play, probably more like 10 when they warm up. Westminster had it down by the 15 and moved back to the 26, 27, so might have been a penalty there. All right, here's a give to Kevin Kern. Kern stood up pretty well there. There's Raleigh Fitzgibbon, and it was also Chase Replogle. Puts a stop to that play. So not much of a gain there. There's a good job by South Carroll's defense. That's Stankiewicz again. Stankiewicz and Harrison, they're fired up. Anytime you can tackle Connor Stack for a loss, you did something good.
Yeah, it's not an often sight that happens. So, again, kudos to South Carroll. Finally back to Damascus here. Westminster continuing to roll. Confer
Nice
up the
by
gut
Nick
there.
Confer, yep. Boy, Damascus has some big guys in the middle of that defense. 78, I believe, is Callum Hughes. He's a senior. They got some seniors. Number 70 is the worst. Number 70, there's some big customers. Kudos to Westminster being up by what they are, 21-0, and not allowing them to score any points. There's Kern with a quick run. He's dropped by 22, Jesse Owings.
Handoff goes to Kevin Kern.
But Liberty trying to get closer to the goal line.
7 Rupp, and Jesse Owings make the stop.
Yeah, Liberty at this point in the game is almost in put-away territory, right? 2 minutes to go in the half, but a touchdown here puts you up by 3 touchdowns. Similar spot that Westminster was in earlier in the game, and they actually just had a big play. We'll get you that as soon as we can.
Here's Kern on the right side, and it's easy picking. Kevin Kern walks into the end zone, and you're right, there's still a whole half to go. A lot of game left, but we'll see if that score right there proves costly for Key's chances.
Yeah, and that fake punt really changed everything, right, Pat?
Huge.
I mean, immediately you went from, getting that to capitalizing with the Puckett touchdown, and then they get the long touchdown to Greco for 60 yards, and then they get the interception by Puckett. Kern adds another, and it's been 21 unanswered ever since that fake punt, as we see that Westminster highlight we were talking to, Howard, on just a broken coverage by Damascus down the sideline. His second score of the day. He's been having an unbelievable year. That's his 7th touchdown this season, all through the air. I mean, he's been doing everything for this Westminster offense.
So I found something that Man Valley can work on, and that's punt, because I just saw another bad snap, and Bo Snell did all he could to get the punt off. So South Carroll does have it in solid field position on this drive as we're live there with just under 8 minutes to go. Talk about other games around outside of Carroll County. How about a big one in Frederick County as we see the replay, Kevin Kern, just not a lot of defense on that side of the ball for FSK. Linganore playing our Oakdale tonight, Nathan, and we know a lot about Linganore and Oakdale on the Frederick County side. I know this is a Carroll County centric show, but those are two of the bigger teams around, and Linganore blowing away Oakdale tonight. Linganore might be the best team in the state. 35-7 last time I checked. So.
And that's an Oakdale team that beat Damascus 2 weeks ago 43-0. So if that tells you anything about the competition that Damascus has waiting down the line for them, even Westminster as well at the 3A level, it's tricky to get out of those, Coach Connor and company guys, the Lancers out there in Mount Airy.
Yeah, it's a team that Westminster knows well. They've played each other many times through the years. Always tough to beat Linganore. Westminster's done it a few times. Played them last year in the playoffs, came up short. Brady Matthews, one of the top runners in the state, he's back from a huge year last year, and they just continue to put away the opposition in dominating fashion. So that's down the road, but still, just keep an eye on these teams, right? The Linganores, the Oakdales, the Damascuses, if you will. I mean, you never know who you're going to wind up with in week 11, 12, and beyond if you get that far. So a third down play, as you saw again, Anthony Rodriguez gets away, and Rodriguez is across the 50 and more. Biggest play of South Carroll's night, at least for a while, and on the ground there, Anthony Rodriguez. Nice job by that young man. All right, here we go. Minute and 40 left, and that pass is incomplete. So Etzler and his receivers just aren't out on the same page here. They haven't really been for most of the year, and that's what's been one of the frustrating things for Coach David Cunningham up in Uniontown. Just the expectations they had this year were sky high. We were there that first day of training camp / preseason, what have you, fall tryouts, and they were so excited to get going, and they stubbed their toe week 1, got a big win in week 2, and since then it's gone the opposite way, and there haven't really been a lot of answers, and it surprised me that they're struggling as much as they are right now, 1-4, and right now facing 1-5, with of course the rest of this game still to go.
And it's just one of those years where you think everything is, lining up to have a successful year, and the results just haven't been that way, but like we said, still a long way to go. You'll have 24 minutes on the back half to try and make something happen. They still got 90 seconds here to try and get back within 2 touchdowns.
To dodge Myers with that catch, that was a nice job by Myers of just being open for Etzler, and I think a timeout was called. It was. So Francis Scott Key calls a timeout. All right, South Carroll down inside the 30. Here's Kostos down the sideline.
Salee.
Oh, Walter Salee. Ooh, Jake Miller. Maybe got caught up there a little bit. Wow. Is that pick number 5 for Salee?
That's unbelievable.
That was a great play because that's Jake Miller going against. Not an easy mission there.
That's the definition of high pointing the football. I mean, that's textbook right there for Walter Salee, taking what he's been coached on for his entire life, especially that's such a big focal point at the high school level, as these guys start to mold into potential college players. And that's a college-level play there for Walter Salee. His second interception. On the first one, he kind of ran the route for the receiver on that go ball. And, again, for both of these interceptions, Kostos not even with bad throws. He's putting it where the receiver can get it. It's just been better plays for Salee on that last one. Full extension as he dives onto his back, and, that sets up the touchback. If that goes the other way, it's a tied game. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about with South Carroll, is that they're so close to breaking through. The pick 6 that gets called back, that first interception for Salee, if that gets past him, it's a touchdown. That one right there would have been 6 if Miller comes down with it. So South Carroll's still right in this. They're making the proper plays. They're in the right positions. But Manchester Valley has been the playmaker tonight. They have the highlights going into the back half of this third quarter.
Damascus second right now in Class 3A West in the point standings. Again, it's still week 6, so you got this game plus 3 more. Linganore was first at 5-0, so Damascus is in line for a home game at least in the first round, while Westminster is a 4 seed in the 3A North with Milford Mill, Franklin, and Newtown ahead of them. Now, Franklin has the win against Westminster, but the head-to-heads don't matter as much, and this is the point average that the state puts together. So still, 3 weeks after this one to go to jockey for position. Like Nathan said, everybody makes the playoffs these days, but these are big games in terms of that, whether you want to play home or whether you want to have to go on the road.
And you got to think everybody is going to want that county title first and foremost, of course. So even though that doesn't apply to Westminster tonight, still getting a good win against a team that you could see down the line in the postseason is huge. And also just building that momentum, knowing you're going to play a Manchester Valley team next week that's coming to take down the top dog in the county.
They beat them in the playoffs, did Man Valley a couple of years back, and that was a sour taste in the Owls' mouth from 2 years ago. Westminster got past the Mavs last year in the regular season, didn't have to play them in the playoffs. But
First down.
those kind of games can go a long way to people remembering what happened even 2 years ago. If you were a sophomore and you were on the sideline, or even if you were a contributor more than that, you remember those things and you let that sit in your crawl. I'm sure you have memories of things like that from your days of playing the sports you played. Here's a give to Andalina, but really nowhere to go. And the Century's done a good job of stringing out the majority of those runs, because those are the runs that Winters Mill had to go their way more often than not through the first 4 weeks of the season. First 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, when we saw them a couple weeks ago, Pat, it was pretty apparent that they try to stretch the field with Denning and Phillips, and they go Andalina and sometimes Denning in between the tackles. So when you see Phillips back there, it's not a tell necessarily, but you got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen as Snell tries to evade pressure, but he can't.
Armin Savakui with the flex. So good job by the senior. We talked to him during our season preview, and he was stoked about the chances of South Carroll's success this year. Of course, hasn't gone their way, but nice to see the senior making some contributions there. Here's another run. And this time, Andalina does get away. And a big run out past midfield. So early third quarter, Jake Andalina on the move, and he has the Falcons into Century territory.
And that's the point I was trying to get at before that South Carroll sack, was that you got to find different ways to get Andalina and Phillips to switch it up, right? You can't always have Phillips going to the edge. You can't always have Andalina going up the middle. You got to mix and match a little bit, because it becomes a point where the team gets their hands on film and such like that. And you just watch it throughout the game, to where if you see Phillips line up and you know it's going to the outside, that's pretty easy to stop, and you just have your defensive end say, okay, I'm just going to keep riding this out to the sideline and then hope my other guys can fill in the gaps. So Century did a great job of being poised defensively in that first half, and so far on this first drive of the second half, despite that one run from Andalina, they're still doing a solid job.
Nice job by Matthew Ford, number 52. He's a senior, 6'2", 215 pounds. We spoke to him as well back in the start of the season, and he was amped up just like Savakui was for South Carroll, just about the chances, that the expectations of Century. So good to see the guys we talked to in the beginning of the year, making names for themselves throughout the year, players to keep an eye on, and Ford was one of them. As we got a little look at Westminster there as the Owls come back onto the field. Coach Chris Basler, some words of wisdom, no doubt, as Liberty goes down the sideline, top left, incomplete. Try to get that one to Carter Weddle, and he
seems all right.
Yep, some good sportsmanship there, as top right over the middle, an Austin Denning pass falls incomplete. So the quad box is back. Nathan's excited. He was pumping his fist a second ago.
Would have been, that Denning pass would have been good on the bounce up to Andalina. Of course,
count, Nathan. It doesn't count.
Maybe they should change that rule.
This isn't cricket. It doesn't count. All right.
Maybe that'll be a sport that Mr. Duffy could get involved.
Spoken into existence. All right. Kevin Kern gets away from the first man, waits for his defenders to create some blocks, and Kern picks up about 5 or 6 yards there, as this long second quarter is almost to an end. Under 1 minute to go before we take the break in Uniontown.
That first half's kind of dragged out a little bit. Not a lot of action in these later minutes. Liberty's stopped the clock a bunch in the second quarter with their 3 touchdowns. We're pretty much at the end of the third quarter in the South Carroll Man Valley game. I don't know where we're at in the Damascus-Westminster game. All I know is that that's a 4-touchdown lead. Oh, man, fumble. Ooh.
Actually, the Man Valley, or the Damascus game might be in the 4th, because I thought they were switched around a moment ago when we saw a score, so it might be early 4th quarter there.
That was Davey Snyder losing it for South Carroll.
But got it back?
He did get it back. That was, again, one of those plays for the Cavaliers where if they don't get that fumble, it's another one of them kicking themselves in the foot. But they do get it back, and they're still going to be driving here at the end of the third quarter.
Sean Case in the shotgun. He's got Kern behind him, and the give is to Kern. Pretty much just off the right side, and Kern still makes FSK work to get him down, and that's a good athlete right there. Kevin Kern, good wrestler, good football player, competes at the state level in the wrestling team. So we saw him lose 4 matches last year, and I believe I have this right, they were all to Landon Hamper. Landon Hamper, of course, a state champion. So a great year if you're Kevin Kern, unless you're wrestling Landon, who he and Landon have a good competitive rivalry with each other. So I know Kern will be waiting to see what happens in the wrestling season this year, but he's still got a little ways to go. Made a great play last year in the Williamsport playoff win for Liberty. Had a pick 6 late in that game that iced it, and the heart of the defense coming back was a good thing. All right, here we go. Damascus, Westminster, and hold the phone. And a false start. So, yeah, Damascus, not much going the Hornets' way here tonight. And it's 4th down. They're going for it on this play, I believe. So I think I saw the umpire with his fist up, meaning 4th down. We'll come back to that in a little bit. We got Century and Winters Mill. Now Century with the ball in their own territory, deep in their own territory. Jake Dexter trying to get something going up top. And he's got Ashburn out past the 40. Oh, he was bobbling it. Let's see if they give him the catch. I don't think they're going to. Yeah, he couldn't hold on to it. Wow, another drop. Or not a drop, another missed opportunity for Century. Yeah, incomplete pass. Ooh, if he had the defender beat too for at least a 25-yard gain.
Yeah, into the bucket there for Dexter. What an amazing throw. Just one of those situations for Ashburn where maybe he was trying to run with it before he actually secured it. Here's a big play for Damascus, and this is going to be their first touchdown. Romeo over the middle. That's Nolan Cooley, the running back. The Hornets finally able to get on the board.
A nice play too. That was on 4th down. And the Hornets have a little bit of life here.
So this is that play again, and like I said,
yeah.
It's turning his shoulders.
Yep.
Ashburn was trying to run with it before he actually secured it. That's when he'll watch back tomorrow and film and say, I'm going to want that play back. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go to that play later on in this one.
Here's a screen pass. Great play call. DeLon Barnes gets a block, gets 2 blocks, and he's down to the 40-yard line. So a big play.
Pass complete to number 13,
DeLon Barnes. We haven't called his name too much this year for Century.
By A.J. Reeder.
Now we got some chipping back and forth between, chirping is what I was looking for. Chirping back and forth between Century and Winters Mill.
And you see big number 75 on the left side of the line. That's Jake Plummer. What a block he had. That's who Barnes was, guiding the hand behind, trying to get as many yards extra as possible. He's the left tackle, was the lead blocker on that screenplay, and a big reason why Century is into Winters Mill territory here.
Another run by Barnes. He gets away from the first few men, and he gets about 8-9 yards. So a nice run by Barnes. I saw our cameraman Andrew did a good job at Damascus. He peeked at the scoreboard. 9:52 remaining in the 4th quarter, 28-7. So Damascus on the board, but time not on their side. As the Owls, as long as they play clean ball, they should have their 5th win of the season.
How about that play for Damascus too? 4th down,
great.
Play action, under center, you fake the toss.
Right down the seam.
Right down
too.
the seam.
Yep.
Cooley could not have been more open, and all he had to do was make the safety miss, which he did. And
made Troop turn around, turn his body.
now they go onside kick here.
5-yard penalty.
Looked like Gabe Lee, 88, recovered it. So they got to pull a stop sign with under 10 minutes to go, and the Owls recover the onside kick. All right, live we are to Century Winters Mill with 7 minutes, 7:10 actually remaining. And Century out past midfield into Winters Mill territory. Dexter out in the flat. Ooh, that's a hard throw and a nice catch by Koenig. I always wonder about that high school throw going all the way over the numbers like that. It's the hardest throw, I think. One of the hardest throws to make in high school is the field's so wide. You could easily get picked off on a play like that, but a good job there by Koenig.
Yeah, you almost just have to, throw it 10 yards further just to, make sure nobody gets a hand on it other than your receiver. And, Cole Kemp was closing in. I thought maybe if he was able to undercut that, he could have had the interception. But we've seen Dexter all season use that arm strength to find his receivers. He's having another good night tonight, even though it's only a 6-point lead for Century.
Oh, the fake. Kostos is going to get in the end zone. It was a handoff play action. Let's see. Yes, they did. Jackson Kostos, a nice play, deceived Man Valley's defense, and the Cavaliers can tie it up with a PAT.
How about Kostos? Just keeps it himself. He's been doing it through the air. so far tonight, but he's hit a couple of big runs on this drive and caps that drive off with the big one down the South Carroll sideline. And here's the extra point to try and tie things up. Michael Fry is good. Tied up at the stable, 14 apiece. Manchester Valley had that 2-touchdown lead. South Carroll is clawed all the way back. 10 minutes to go. This is our matchup of the night right now, Pat.
Yeah, some places would call this the witching hour, so to speak. We probably can't call it that, but we'll call it prime time here as these games wind down. We've got 4 games going on. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors, but we'll come back and finish up our multi-game coverage. Nathan Schwartz and Pat Stoetzer with you here. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Stir fry turned out fire last night. AI helped me figure it out. Just told what I had in the fridge.
Are you telling me AI made you dinner?
I mean, it planned it. I still had to cook it, but it gave me the recipe in like 10 seconds. You can use AI to make a meal. No endless scrolling, just ask.
I saw your resume yesterday. It looks really good.
Yeah, AI helped me reword it, fix the layout, even suggested some stuff I forgot to include. You can use AI to clean up your resume and prep for what's next.
Okay, but what is this?
Oh, this shirt? AI can help you shop smarter too. I asked for breathable basics, 100% cotton, no marketing jargon.
No, your bicep.
This? ChatGPT workout plan, 3 weeks in. You can use AI too. We'll help you learn how. Give the Carroll Technology and Innovation a call at 443-244-1262. We'll help you learn some AI. Thank you.
Cable Channel 18 is now home to CMSportsNet, your local channel dedicated entirely to Carroll County sports. Hi there, I'm Pat Stoetzer. From live game coverage and highlights to exclusive interviews and special reports, we've got you covered with high school football, plus boys and girls soccer, plus Carroll Link sports coverage and CMSportsNet's Athlete of the Week, plus Game On, our weekly sports show. Did I say plus? Because we're not done yet. This fall, we're rolling out CMSportsNet Plus. It's a whole new way to catch Carroll County sports with more games and more excitement. The countdown is on, so stay tuned on details on how you can sign up.
Coming soon, it's CMSportsNet Plus, the home for high school game coverage. Every stadium, every gym, live and on demand. Soon, CMSportsNet Plus will be the home for Carroll County sports coverage. Stay tuned for subscription details. Get ready to be part of the network built for you. And don't miss a minute of the action. It's your team, your game, your network. CMSportsNet Plus.
Welcome back, CMSportsNet multi-game coverage, Week 6. Pat Stoetzer and Nathan Schwartz with you in the studio. We got 4 games going on right now all around the county, so we'll get back into the action. South Carroll, Man Valley are tied with about 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. South Carroll just tied that one up. Westminster still up big at Damascus. Time running out in the fourth quarter. Damascus got on the board. Lions up 28-7. Same score, Damascus and Westminster, by the way. Lions up 28-7 at the break, and still 6-0 Century over Winters Mill, but some big plays have just happened in the last moments or two, so we'll hopefully get to see a couple of those plays once we go live. Been a fun night so far, Nathan.
It's been a very fun night, Pat, and here's a look at Winters Mill as we cut in. There was a big change in this one while we were away. Austin Denning, of course, we talk about him, what he's able to do as the passer / runner at the quarterback position. He got an interception on a 4th down for Century, and that sets up Winters Mill in Knights territory. And South Carroll continues to fight out there in Manchester. The defense really starting to play well. Jackson Costos kind of taking that game over. He had the rushing touchdown. He just had a pass breakup on a play for the Mavericks, I believe, on what was 3rd down, but we'll stay here in Westminster for Winters Mill as they look for their first points.
I was just going to say, Falcons trying to get on the board, so under 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, and Nathan's right before we came back from our break. Austin Denning with a great pick and a great return as well. And then the last 2 runs have been to Andalina, a good run on 1st down. Let's see, the Man Valley was back to punt here. I think Nathan was talking about this a moment ago. This has been a problem for Man Valley tonight. Yeah, again, this is the 3rd time, twice over his head. That time blocked. So fortunate that it bounced all the way back that it did, or else South Carroll was in the end zone with another touchdown. But now, so a big play there. Wow, that has been rough on special teams tonight for Manchester Valley. 1 on the ground, 2 over Snell's head.
They haven't been able to figure it out, and it's not like this is a one-game problem for Manchester Valley. This is a recurring
We saw it 2
problem
weeks
for
ago,
them.
yeah.
It almost cost them against
It
Winters
sure did.
Mill. It was a 9-6 game when that was a bad snap, and luckily for Manchester Valley, the punt returner for Winters Mill touched it, muffed it, and that allowed for a Manchester Valley touchdown with Stack. As here goes Phillips.
He's in the end zone. So you mentioned the 3-headed monster of Denning, Andalina, and Phillips. This time it's Phillips. And the junior finds the end zone.
Rodriguez tries to take the lead for South Carroll. How about this? We talked about early how, Manchester Valley was kind of pulling away, but South Carroll has just continued to claw back with the touchdown to Miller, with Kostos on the ground a minute ago, the blocked punt just 2 plays ago, and now South Carroll already in field goal range here, 8 minutes left. They had that really heartbreaking loss to Century a couple weeks ago where they were up 13-0 like Manchester Valley was, and then it was the opposite for them where Dexter led the comeback for the Knights. Now Kostos and this Cavalier offense have a chance to take the lead for the first time.
Man Valley surged ahead, and now Rodriguez bounces away, and Anthony Rodriguez was dead to rights in the backfield for a big tackle for loss. Never mind. Rodriguez scores, and South Carroll has the lead.
Anthony looking like older brother AJ on that one. Seen him make that play so many times as Confer makes a nice play for the Westminster
Here it is
offense.
again. I mean, they sold out to get this play. Oh, he's so close to going down right there. John Day stays down there too. Boy, Rodriguez, great sense of body and gravity there. A little bit of wrestling acumen right there to stay on his feet. And the PAT was good, and South Carroll leads with 7:47 to go. 21-14, biggest play of the year so far for South Carroll. And the PAT was good at Winters Mill, so 7-6 is your score there. The Owls are down inside the 20-yard line. Fourth quarter, pretty much game in hand. If you're Westminster, you just hold on to the ball here, you're going to win on the road. And we'll show you some more plays from that one as we go along. There we go. We got the quad box back again, Nathan's best friend.
Of course, and that PAT is good for South Carroll. So they've got a 7-point lead, and now all of a sudden, after everything was going right for Manchester Valley to start, Pat, nothing has been going right. They haven't been able to get the special teams set. South Carroll's defense has really started to come to play in this one. And Connor Stack's been sort of a non-factor after the opening drive.
Absolutely, yes. After the first quarter and a half. So some flags flew there in that Westminster game. Looked like it might have been on Damascus. I'm not sure. Thought I saw a fourth down signal, but they're going to move the ball. Well, the ball's going all the way down inside the 10, down to about the 6. So I'm not sure exactly what down it is. I thought I saw fourth down, but it wouldn't make sense. Owls are on offense. Well, I guess it could still be fourth down. Well, it doesn't matter. They had the ball. All right, we're back live full to Century and Winters Mill, and the Falcons defense stands tall there. I know that is Shane Kelly, 72. I've called his name a few times in games past. Also saw A.J. Whitney, 52, so one of their top tacklers. All right, here's Nick Comfort. Can he get around the left side? He makes the first man miss, cuts it back. Ooh, big hit at about the 6-yard line. So all that running to go nowhere. And we got a Damascus player down. That was a big collision right there between two big bodies, and the Damascus player on his knees right now.
Ooh, nearly an interception in the South Carroll Man Valley game. I'm sure we'll get to that as
Jake Gillis, I think, number 4. Yeah, here's live, and that play was blown dead as Dexter tried to hand off to Barnes.
Penalty, false start. Century.
So as we start to kind of get to the big plays in all these games, here's that near interception for South Carroll. Gillis.
Yeah, Gillis.
You were right, Pat.
It was Salih that tipped it. I didn't see that part, Nathan, but I saw Gillis kind of, in frustration almost have it, but I think it was that tipped pass, rather.
Yeah, but to just continue on that
Yeah,
point
go
where,
ahead.
you know, if the score holds in Manchester, then Manchester Valley would have a loss in county play, opening the door for Westminster to really put their stamp on the county next week, potentially.
And Winters Mill Century now is, they probably don't know this, but that's a big story for them. Whoever wins that game, definitely if it's Winters Mill, they don't play Westminster until week 9, so they have a path to the county title, if you will. So huge momentum's here, huge swings in these last 15 minutes or so will determine the county champion in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, we'll try and get you those standings once the night concludes. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stay through to the final snap of what will be the Liberty FSK game. They're still at the halftime break in that one.
Yeah, it looks like it was about 7 minutes or so to go in Manchester. And the Mavericks are on the move, though. We'll get to that one in a minute, but it is a big play.
That's Duncan.
Catch made by number
So one of the
5.
short-handed receivers, I guess actually the second leading receiver in terms of catches. Going into this game, he had 22 catches for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. Here's a play here. I think Bo Snell's going to find Walter Salee, and Salee is going to make a lot of yards after the catch. Might have got away with a hold there, but a nice job there by Man Valley to move the chains. And they're down in scoring position with 6:45 to go. Salee's all over the field.
He can do everything, Pat. He can, you know, he's been honestly a better defender as of late than he has been at receiver, but that's not, you know, short-sighting his contributions on that side of the ball. As you take a look at the Damascus player down, you hate to see that, but now the fire department starting to make their way out there, but
hope he's okay.
Yeah, looks like he's back on his feet as we cut away and back into the red zone for Manchester Valley. But
good to see.
It's coming down to the wire around a lot of places. 1-point game going into the fourth quarter at Winters Mill. Manchester Valley, under 6 minutes to go, trying to tie the game up after 21 unanswered from South Carroll. I mean, this is what it's all about, week 6 in Carroll County.
South Carroll flinching a little bit on defense. Snell takes the shotgun snap, steps back. He wants to throw. He's going to run it instead. And he's taken out. Ooh, he was still in bounds. Taken out of bounds there along the sideline. For a minimal gain. So third down as I see the box change.
Back to the quad box with a big play for Century. Did
Cody
he stay in
in?
bounds? Yes, he did. Touchdown for the Knights. They take the lead right back as Westminster's down inside the 5. Manchester Valley's inside the 10, and we just got the opening kickoff of the second half at FSK.
Yay, we're underway in the third quarter. 28-7 is that score. The Knights just took the lead right after Winters Mill had taken the lead moments ago. Century's back on top. Are they going to go for 2 here? Up 12-7. We'll see. They're going to talk about it.
Here's the big play. 50-yard bomb
Koenig
in stride to Koenig.
And he stayed in. A good job because Denning tried to push him out at the last moment, but not enough force from Denning to push him out. So, yeah, Koenig goes, and he leads the county heading into this week. So that's at least 30 for him now in the year. Catches. I know we've called his name at least twice. So,
yeah, that's his 5th touchdown. He's over 500 yards receiving now.
He leads in receiving yards and catches, so he's having a whale of a start to the season.
Sean Case keeps it.
Sean Case with a keeper there as we're early third quarter. It looks like out of my side vision, Westminster is attempting a field goal from short range. And Trevor Wallace, I believe, got it. So more points for Westminster. We'll figure that out as we go.
31 to... Or did
7?
they get in? That was actually
it was a touchdown, extra point.
PAT.
Okay, I thought it was a short field goal, so yeah,
so we'll
even more convincing.
Yeah, we'll show you the touchdown whenever we get it.
Tumalello again, they scored that play earlier, and that was could be a big play. That was a 2-point conversion miss. We'll see. I mean, obviously it's a 5-point lead. But yeah, here we go. You're right, Nathan. Asking you shall receive, and it's Nick Comfer from about 3 yards out.
His 2nd touchdown.
Easy. This has been a dominant Westminster win. It's going to be a win for the Owls. 35-7. Not what Damascus had envisioned about 2.5 hours ago as they kicked off.
35-7 Westminster out there at Damascus. Case and Doan got the scoring started with that touchdown. Nick Comfer's got 2 touchdowns. Xavier Howard has 2 touchdowns through the air. Just a really complete performance. You were talking about earlier, Pat, how they got that complete complete performance
like
last week for the first time,
They're-
and they've added to that with the lone blemish being that big fourth quarter touchdown on 4th down for Damascus. Now Stack to the outside.
Oh,
Big
Gillis.
tackle.
Yep, Gillis did enough to stop him.
He almost had the interception earlier on this drive.
That was 4th down.
And that was 4th
Huge
down,
play.
turnover on downs.
That was a huge play.
Wow.
You're right. He almost had the pick, and he comes up and does that. So a nice series from Jake Gillis, and we have a punt here now. Let's see if Key can do something with it. Gonna have it near midfield, but not.
Great tackle from Justin Hebert.
Yep, Damian Blizzard tried to get around.
So here it is again.
Just
You
a
got to
toss.
give the
Look how far Gillis goes. Yeah, go ahead.
You got to give
Sorry,
the ball
Nathan.
to your best player though and Stack. I don't know if toss is the right way to go. You know, of course, if you get the blocking, it's one of the best plays in the playbook.
Of course,
but
yeah.
it's very rare you get all the blocking you need on a toss. Now Manchester Valley is going to have to think about using its timeouts as South Carroll is going to, no, without a doubt, continue to give the ball to Anthony Rodriguez, especially after what he did on that last play, the touchdown, where he was about 5 inches away from hitting the grass with his left knee, stayed on his feet, and was able to bend it around the corner.
Little pass out in the flat to Antoine Norfleet, taken down. We saw that run just a minute ago from Andalina. Immediately when he crossed midfield, Winters Mills' bench was already pointing the other way, unfortunately, so it's going to come back. And I saw Andalina just put his head up in disbelief. So huge run for the Falcons goes for naught, and they'll be backed up now at about the 37-yard line. All right, full screen we go live to Liberty and FSK. 9 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Oh, bobble, but I think it was caught. Yeah, Carter Rhodes. So this might be that run I was talking about. Nope, different play, my bad. So we're back to the 40-yard line.
But huge,
way behind
though,
the sticks.
Yeah, for Winters Mill, a touchdown gives you the lead because of that missed 2-point conversion for Century. So that missed PAT comes back to bite them earlier because then they go for 2 and they don't get it.
So they're missing 3 points on the board.
For sure.
So you're right about the timeouts. Man Valley did call one. There's 3:06 to go. We'll get to that one in a moment. Early 4th quarter here. Again, we just mentioned Century, the Will Koenig long touchdown catch. Gave the Knights the lead back. Wintersville has the ball. Denning throwing that long sideline pass, incomplete.
He's looking for Scheimer.
So 3rd down coming up, and yeah, like you said, here we are. Now South Carroll going a long way the other way, so Man Valley can get it back, of course, and they can stop them after they stop Stack on 4th down. Damascus is punting, so not much time left in this one. So Westminster can come home with that win. Costos completes it to Jake Miller.
Another timeout, I think.
Yeah, they'll have to. Clock's going to keep running there.
On the tackle.
The clock is the enemy now if you're Man Valley as they try to go. And you wonder, let's say this plays out and Man Valley comes down and can score. Do you go for 2 if you're Coach Bernie Coons? A lot still to be played before you get to that point, but
It's definitely something to consider. I think we'll go one step at a time. I think they got to get the stop.
They
first.
can go one step at a time. You and I can go 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. But you're right. You got to stop and then you got to score.
If it were me, I would, because I think of the way that South Carroll has played in this second half. They've got all the momentum. It's no guarantee that you would make the extra point anyway. It's no guarantee that you would get the snap down if you're Manchester Valley at this point. That's really something you got to consider at this point.
That is a good point.
If you're Bernie Kuntz and company with that staff. So step 1, get the stop. Step 2, you got to find the end zone, of course. Then step 3, I think it would be a 2-point conversion, and you just got to live with the result one way or another.
Yeah, and the conservative side is if we do score and we know we can get the extra point down, we can roll the dice and we take our chances in overtime. But you got to get there first. So. Oh, did South Carroll false start?
Yeah, I think it was
Valley's
Miller.
pointing one way. Yeah, I think they did. All right, South Carroll trying to hold on to this lead. Still a lot of time left.
Yeah, I believe that was third down, and South Carroll was trying to get Manchester Valley to jump in order to get that new set of downs. And
South Carroll's had a jumping problem here in this game tonight, so that one was on offense. There you see the double barrel action here on the right side. You got Century holding on to a lead, and they got the ball back, although it's deep in their own territory. And South Carroll trying to get out of its own end with under 3 to go. Mavs fans getting loud, making the camera shake.
Looks like a Madden game because the controller's buzzing. Stadium pulse at an all-time high out there at the stable.
I thought that was just me. Dexter off the back foot, nobody there. In fact, dangerous. And he had Duncan sort of alone in the middle, and he had triple coverage, if you will, of Winters Mill defenders. Odd throw there. It stops the clock. There's 10 minutes left in that game, of course, but let's see. Is this victory formation for Westminster?
Sure
looks like it is. That's about as impressive win as you'll see, Nathan, around here. Go on the road, go to Damascus, and score 35 points and only allow that one touchdown on a fourth down go for broke play. Not too much to be complaining about if you're Coach Chris Basler and the Westminster Owls. A huge win on the road for Westminster.
Yeah, that's a business trip for the Owls. They improved to 5-1 overall. They'll stick at 3-0 in county play. They've got Manchester Valley at home next week for a game that could very well decide who takes the county. So what a win for Westminster. Again, it was Comfer and Howard each with 2 scores, and Doane got the first one as Liberty looks for their 5th score.
Almost a nice catch by Jordan Say. Give credit to Zion Ojo Osaji with that defensive play. Here's Dexter again. Over the middle. Oh, Duncan got his hands on that one. So dangerous throws here for Century, deep in their own end.
There's been a lot of them tonight. It even goes back to the end of the second quarter for Dexter, where he's just throwing it into the middle. And if we could get a look at South Carroll, Manchester Valley, me and Pat have an eye on something there.
Looks like Jackson Costos has to leave the field, at least momentarily. So I don't know who the other quarterback is.
Yeah, there's not a third quarterback listed on South Carroll's roster.
You might see some wildcatting here with Anthony Rodriguez and
Davey Snyder, but right now it's 4th down punt formation.
Right, so maybe he'll get a chance to get back out there. So Man Valley got the stop it needed. Ooh, almost a block. And it goes out right about midfield. So that's as far as Man Valley will need to go. Actually going to go out at the 46-yard line of South Carroll. So Man Valley's got a short field and plenty of time to work with and see what they can do to try to tie the game or go for 2. All right, back at the Eagles' Nest in Uniontown, and Liberty trying to add more points, and that was Andrew McGlynn, number 34. The nice run, gets some love from Dylan Tate, his teammate, and Liberty imposing their will, although it looked like that one's coming back too on a penalty. All right, Winters Mill, and it's Luke Phillips on the left side, easy run. That's number 2 for Phillips. Nathan gives me the peace sign telling me number 2 for Luke Phillips. So 13-12 now, Falcons with the lead. You would think they would kick the PAT here. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, don't want to chase points here if you're Winters Mill. But also, you know, in that case, it would put them up by 3. But,
yeah, but
I'm in the mindset of if you have the opportunity, you know, Denning is a good leg. Let's try and get the point on the board while you can. And now Winters Mill will call a timeout.
Now they're bringing in the jump. Now, you know what? They might be changing their mind there, Nathan, and going for 2. I saw Tejada running out there. That's their bigger jumbo package. Here's Sean Case going to keep it. Sean Case into the secondary. Sean Case down inside the 5. Fake the handoff to McGlynn, and Sean Case is fired up. He can use his legs too. He said, don't forget about me.
So if we could get out to the stable, so there was that Costos injury, then there was the punt. I think there was a penalty against Manchester Valley on the punt or some sort of other turnover that allowed for South Carroll to get the ball back.
Wow.
They just ran a wildcat with Anthony Rodriguez.
So Costos is out.
And they're going to try and run this clock down.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a moment, but yep, here we go. So you saw Jake Miller limping to the line. And you're right, it's going to be a wildcat. It's Rodriguez, it's Brennan Harrison, and Davey Snyder. Man Valley's fans making it shake again. Another snap to Rodriguez. This is the offense you sort of put in if you need it, just to be a trick once in a while. Now they got to run it. the rest of the way, and the clock is running now, so Man Valley would appear to be out of timeouts. Second and short, and if this holds, not only is it an upset, it's one of the bigger upsets I can remember. Just based on record and based on what happened. Man Valley had won 3 in a row. South Carroll couldn't do anything right last week, and this game started out 14-0 Man Valley.
I mean, at this point, South Carroll has their receiver, Nick Pizzuto, going to the sideline, getting the plays, and bringing them in. He's calling the plays in, and then Rodriguez is just going to take the ball and do what he can with it.
I think it's literally snapping it to Rodriguez and just trying to get yards out of this and trying to get out of here with a win.
They're just talking about which side they're going to run to at this point, but what a performance if this holds for South Carroll, down 14-0 without your starting quarterback, without the county's leader in tackles and Braden Mazalewski from the safety spot, to go down by 2 scores early, to battle back. Miller gets a touchdown in the second quarter.
You lose your quarterback.
Again, you lose your quarterback here at the end of the fourth
that's
quarter.
what I mean.
They had a pick-6 called back. They blocked a punt. They had Costos with a touchdown. Rodriguez scores when he was pretty much down. It's been an improbable game for South Carroll, and they're a first down away from ending this.
And could this be it? No, it's not going to be it, but they're going to still bleed the clock down. They're going to have only about 15 seconds or so before they have to worry about snapping the ball. So lost a yard or 2. They don't care. It's 4th down.
4th down.
South Carroll can play this all the way down, call a timeout.
You saw Coach Crumley giving Pizzuto the play there. Coach doesn't usually wear the headset, but he's taken over at this point in the game, knowing that his group is about 30 seconds away from getting their first win of the season.
They're going to let this run down, I think, and then maybe call the timeout and then either run a play or punt it. I would think you'd punt. Yeah, they're going to come to the sideline and call that timeout. So timeout there. Here was that touchdown again, and Phillips did a good job. Luke Phillips did the bounce off to the left side.
That's the 2-point conversion for
Oh, you're
Antolina.
right. Excuse me, you're right. So they did go for the 2. So there you go. So look, Will Koenig can kick field goals for Century. So you figure if you're Matt Miller, let's go up 3 and make them have to go all the way or at least get very close. Now there's still 9.5 minutes left in that game, so a lot of football left in the fourth quarter at Big Mill.
And there's still 15.5 minutes to go in this Liberty FSK game. But Liberty in full control there. They're about to knock on the doorstep again, maybe get a field goal attempt here, it looks like. They try and go at 31-7, but this is all of our attention right now. South Carroll 0-5 overall, 0-3 in the county. They lost to Westminster at home last week, 49-0. Again, Braden Mazalewski, one of their best players, out today with a concussion. Came in with 611 passing yards, 231 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, 62 tackles, and yet Jackson Costos, while he was in there, did an amazing job with a touchdown through the air, 1 on the ground. South Carroll had to go wildcat for this last couple of plays while Costos visited with an injury, and now they're about 10 seconds away from win number 1. Salil let this one bounce, and it's hook and ladder time, it seems, for the Mavericks. They've got one play to try and tie this one up.
And well, they know they can make that play work. We saw it 2 weeks ago. And so we'll see. It looks like there's about 5 seconds left on the clock. So one play, unless there's a defensive penalty. Clock running, 8:30 to go in the fourth quarter. Falcons up by 3. Clock stopped momentarily, 2:53 to go. The Lions added a field goal, so they're up 31-7. So that one is pretty much in the books for Liberty, although you got a quarter left, and we'll see how the score goes. But all right, here we go. 8-15 and counting. Century on the move. Jake Dexter is going to go up top. And he is, nice play. Incomplete pass. Tried to get it to
number 5, stopped by number 6, Isaac Colehouse.
And Dexter's been letting it fly a lot in this one. It hasn't worked out a lot for Century in the grand scheme of things, but they connected on that big one. You had down the sideline for Koenig, that big 50-yard score, and they've had a lot of miscues with that, a lot of near misses, a lot of questionable throws as well, but Century's only one big one away, and here's it at Manchester Valley. Snell, he's just got to let it fly. Man, shows off the arm, and it is
Oh.
incomplete. It would have been down by contact anyway for Ziegenfuss, and the South Carroll Cavaliers have pulled it off.
Very
South Carroll
impressive.
gets their first win in 2025. A huge congratulations to Mike Crumley and that staff and that team, a team that has really gone through the ringer this year without their starting quarterback today, without their captain on the defense, Braden Mazalewski.
And I think that's the thing, Nathan. I mean, not that they won the game. Of course, anything can happen. But the way that South Carroll played last week and the small roster and the adversity they were facing without their leader, their starter, then they lose their quarter. You mentioned it already, but I mean, huge win for Mike Crumley and South Carroll. Congrats to the Cavaliers.
Yeah, they
and
deserve
a big county
it.
win, too. Yeah, they deserve it. They were tonight. And there you go. They're happy over there. All right, here we go. Delon Barnes trying to get around the side. Nice job by Winners Mill. That's Ezzy Poutre, 54.
Carried by number 13, Delon Barnes.
Good job by Poutre. He's one of the top defenders on Winners Mill and the county, no less. So 2 games in the books. Westminster gets the convincing win. South Carroll comes from behind, and Man Valley's frustrated. A county lost their first one of the season, and South Carroll's first win in 2025, like Nathan said.
And one more note on South Carroll before we turn our attention to the other 2 games remaining. South Carroll had something similar happen last year, Pat, where they had that really rough start. They started out 0-6, I believe, and then they went on a big run there at the end of the season. And then, you know, they beat Liberty in the regular season. Then they, of course, lost to Liberty in the first round of the playoffs. But South Carroll's been in games this year. That 0-5 record really didn't reflect the season that they've had so far. They went toe-to-toe with Liberty. They were a last-second field goal away from, you know, going to overtime with Century. And now they've picked up a win against the team that was second place in the county in Manchester Valley. They've got a non-county game next week. They're homecoming against Brunswick. Then they play at Winners Mill, and then they go and play Key. And I think that's it for their county schedule. But when you look at this team overall and what they've got ahead of them, they've got a chance to really build something here. If they can get Mazalewski back, even with the way Kostos played, the fact that you have 2 guys that you know can play that position so well, and of course Kostos and Mazalewski, what they do defensively as well, South Carroll could, you know, make some noise down there at the end of this regular season and going into the postseason. They've got the hard part of their schedule out of the way.
Lon Barnes on the carry there for Century as we're looking live at Winners Mill. 6 minutes to go. Winners Mill holding on to that 3-point lead. But the Century Knights inside the 25-yard line as the clock ticks under 6. Third quarter is winding down at Uniontown. Liberty comfortably in front, 31-7. But our eyes are on this game right now with 5:40 to go. And it's Barnes again. So, no, this time it's Odilius. Beg your pardon, number 15, Jake Odilius. And Century getting closer, inching their way down here. And still a lot of time left in high school. 5.5 is a good bit of time.
Currently at the concession stand, hot dogs are $2 for $1.
Quick check in here on
FSK and Liberty.
FSK. End of the third quarter, FSK just looking for anything to go their way.
A lot of time for Jacob Betzler to throw it. He does. Incomplete. Try to get it to Norfleet right around midfield. Just couldn't connect, and that's kind of been Key's bugaboo this year, at least the games that we've seen them in. So on first down, another first down for Century as can the Knights rally again for a 3rd straight week, although they were in the lead in this game, but they've been playing from behind in each of the last 3 weeks.
Stop made by Victor.
Looking for a 3rd straight win.
First down.
Winners Mill is trying to get to 5-1. Here's Odilius again. So Century's in control right here, Nathan. They can sort of hold the ball here, play the clock game, knowing that they've got a pretty sure-footed kicker, but also that they can score here too and not leave Winners Mill, score a touchdown that is, and not leave Winners Mill with a lot of time left.
Oh yeah, the thought has to be 6 here for Dave Ferguson and company, and they've got the ability to do so. The ground game hasn't been their, pedal to the metal this year, but they've found a way to make it work today. And the air game has, sparked at times, talked about the struggles with connecting with some of those passes, but You know, it only takes one at this stage in the game. And they've got two really good receivers on the outside in Koenig and Duncan. Duncan to the right here, Koenig out wide to the left.
Double coverage out of bounds. Wasn't going to be complete anyway.
Incomplete.
Try to get it to Duncan, but
Broken up by number 5.
But that's one of those where you don't want to force it either, right? You know, you're at a really good spot on the field, right outside, right inside the red zone, I should say, at the 14-yard line, to where you're in field goal range. A field goal would tie the game under 4 minutes left. You don't want to do anything, you know, that would jeopardize you having the chance to tie things up here. So Dexter, even though he's played really well, I think today and throughout this season, he's got to be careful, and he might face a blitz here on what I believe is 3rd down.
It is 3rd down. Over the middle. Oh, incomplete. Big hit.
Pass incomplete.
Of course, the main concern is Koenig.
Ooh, yeah, Koenig. Slow, you get up. He did move.
20, Isaiah Thompson.
Immediately the trainers go. Wow, that was a head over feet.
Man.
Nothing dirty about it. Just a nice try to make the play. Koenig did, and so did Winters Mill. A little scary scene there. We'll hope Koenig is all right.
You have to applaud the effort there from Koenig. We won't show that one again. Not a great angle there for Koenig, but just one of those tough plays where nobody did anything wrong. It was just, you know, Koenig gets flipped up in the air. He landed on a spot where you don't really want to land on, and you know, it's a tough play for Century. It'll likely set up that game-tying field goal attempt. It'll be 4th down upcoming for the Knights.
But Will Koenig is their kicker. At least he's their starting kicker, so we'll see what.
And he does have to come out.
Right, even if he's totally fine, which it didn't appear to look like that. And at least he'd have to come out for some sort of time. You know, we're looking at this game right now, Nathan, and I was thinking about this. So because I got a laptop in front of me, I looked up some stuff, and I remembered this before the season started. Liberty coach Larry Luth came into the year 2 wins away from tying Ken Johnson for 2nd most wins of any Carroll County coach of all time. He's 83 wins during his time at Liberty. Ken Johnson had 85 between Winters Mill and Liberty. He already has the 2 wins, so he's tied with Speedy right now for 2nd most all time. So this score holds, he would surpass Ken Johnson and be 2nd by himself, 86 wins all time. So congrats. I'll give him congrats now. It's going to come here at some point, but it looks like it's on its way in about 12 minutes of game time. Pretty impressive what Coach Luth has done at Liberty. If I've got him at 83 before the season started, 83 and 53. He's been there since 2013, so one of the top records of all time, and obviously win-wise will be by himself. Ken Parker, of course, South Carroll's longtime coach, is the all-time leader at 127. So Coach Luth told me I ain't going to be around to challenge Coach Ken Parker's record, but pretty cool accomplishment for Coach Luth to be 2nd by himself in Carroll County.
I mean, never say never, right? What's that, another, half decade of games?
You got to make sure you win a bunch, but yes,
right,
that is true. That is true. All right, so we got to look here. It looked like a flag flew, and that pass, oh my goodness. That was a pick coming for, there was a flag on this play, I believe. A pick and just Hunter Morris had it, and instead, Callum Greco goes up and gets it, then churns his way into the end zone. But let's see, there was a flag on that play. I thought I saw one from the sideline, and yeah, it's coming back. So all that to be coming back.
Yeah, I mean, nonetheless, what a play by Greco there.
Oh, yeah.
To take it away, and that's Hunter Morris. He's a freshman. You see, he just kind of camps under this ball. He doesn't really attack it. And we talked about high pointing earlier with Salih. Greco didn't necessarily high point that, but he went and attacked the football. He took it away from Morris. Morris just kind of waited there for the pop fly, and Century's going to go here on 4th down.
Yeah, I think they kind of had to. Oh, a nice defensive play. I think he had the pass. Knocked away Isaac Colehep. Great play. Colehep is their punt returner. Now another man down for Century in that far corner. I think the receiver just hit hard, but that was a 4th down play. Again, it changed the strategy because they couldn't go for the field goal because Koenig was likely out. And so they had to go for it on 4th down. And Dexter had a receiver. He had a man, so credit Colehep for coming all the way across to make that play.
Wow.
There it is again, yeah.
Yeah, so they just try to get it to the corner here for Duncan with coning out. This is the guy you want to go to. Cole Hepp reads this perfect.
Man.
I mean, that is perfect coverage. He didn't get the head around, but he didn't interfere with Duncan either.
Just put his hands right up where he needed to be. Yep.
When you're a defensive back,
pass.
you're taught to put your hand through the hands of the receiver. You also see the eyes of the receiver kind of get big when the ball is coming towards them as well. That's textbook defensive back play from Cole Hepp. That's one that really all high school players, some NFL players should really look at that one and look at that coverage, because I mean that is, you know, a critical point in the game. If that's a pass interference in the end zone, it's going to be a half the distance to the goal penalty, maybe even a penalty that, you know, puts Century in a spot to win. That's an amazing catch in the Liberty game for
Carter Weddle, I believe. Yeah, he was a little slow to get up, and that was picking on Hunter Morris again, the freshman, but he'll learn from those plays for sure, Will Morris. And we called his name earlier. He had made a nice play for Key, but the Eagles on the move yet again, trying to wrap this thing up 31-7 at Francis Scott Key.
Yeah, but quickly on Cole Hepp to finish that off.
Yeah.
I mean, just what a poised play, fourth down, gotta have it. You know they're gonna throw that way, and he was behind the play. He didn't get that good of a read off the ball, but to come back and make that play, huge for Winners Mill. Now they're in the driver's seat. And with the Manchester Valley loss, a win for whoever wins this Winners Mill and Century game is in a much better spot going forward than they would be if Manchester Valley were to have won that game against South Carroll.
The Mavericks fall to 3-1 in the county and 3-3 overall, but it's the county that you're talking about, Nathan, and you're right. So Westminster will be in first, even though they didn't play a county game. They're 3-0. Still a big game next week at Ruby Field, but right now we've got Liberty trying to ice this game, and here's a handoff to McGlynn. McGlynn gets around the right side, and he's going to get into the end zone. Andrew McGlynn. So Liberty tacks on another one. Are they going to call him down? Oh. Actually, nope. Take that back. He's down at about the 1. So he stepped out. But they are close.
It looked like they called for it originally, but Case quickly right back to it.
Liberty's tush push?
Hard count, it looks like. Now he goes for it. I don't know if he got it, though.
Didn't have to go far. Let's see. Did he get in after that one? He did. Well, let's see. Touchdown.
There it is.
See, you were right all along.
Just took an extra play to get there.
And an extra player. All right, so there was an injury here to stop the clock momentarily, but it looks like we're clear now. 3:10 to go, and Winners Mill after that big fourth down stop. Now still a lot of time left, and Century can use some timeouts and to get the ball back. If the ground game was ever going to work for Big Mill, Nathan, it's got to work right here on the few plays. You get a first down or two and salt this thing away.
They got Phillips back there right now at the tailback spot. He's got 2 scores today. Denning, of course, can run at any point, and they've got the fullback in the game. You know this is a run here if you're Century's defense.
Victor Tejada, I believe, they're going to let this run all the way down and call a timeout. So
Century timeout.
Oh, Century called the timeout. All right. The clock ran there for about 10 seconds. Surprised that Century let that go, but still 2:55 to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your reminder that the concession stand will be closing.
So Nathan, you mentioned week 7. Do you have the games? You can run through them. We'll show them at the end of the night too, but if you have what's going on next week in the Carroll County Athletic League and just all around involving Carroll County teams.
Yeah, so we'll start with South Carroll, of course, kind of the story of the night, even though what Westminster did. South Carroll will be at Brunswick, or the host Brunswick next week, rather, for their homecoming game. That's the only non-county matchup of the evening. And then you take a look around the county. We've already talked a lot about that Manchester Valley Westminster game, what that could mean. Westminster comes in at 3-0 in the county. Manchester Valley now has that 1 loss. So if Westminster wins that game, you're looking at a team that could probably win the county going into the final 2 weeks of the season. Then FSK will play Century, Liberty against Winners Mill as well, Pat. The game's next week, so a lot can shake up in those county standings come the end of next week.
Yeah, and we have a big one tonight still to come, just the outcome anyway of Century and Winners Mill. And while we got a moment, just want to let everybody know, I know Nathan knows this, that coming soon we're going to have CMSportsNet Plus. It's the home for all high school sports coverage in Carroll County. We're creating a new way to experience all the action at all the stadiums and the gyms throughout the county live and on demand. Stay tuned for more information. We're working hard to get that to you as soon as possible and get ready to be part of the network that's really built for you. And don't miss a minute. It's going to be your team and your game and your network. It's all going to be right here at CMSportsNet Plus. So like Nathan said, we still have 2 games to go here to finish up anyway. So we're back to Winners Mill now, live. And staying in bounds, I think he did. Yeah, nice job. Coach Matt Miller wants that clock. Look at Coach Miller. That does move the clock and a first down. So a big play there by Luke Phillips. All right, George Taku still fighting hard for Key, trying to get something going. Like you said, I mean, it's not been a good night for FSK. Liberty's done a good job to get back on track after a frustrating couple of losses. So clock moving, so perhaps Century's out of their timeouts, or at least they're going to maybe hold on to 1 or 2. But
yeah, I don't know how Phillips stayed in bounds on that last one. I mean, you could tell he was just trying to go down, but I mean, I thought his momentum kind of took him over towards that Winners Mill sideline.
I agree, but he did stay in. Well, you got to be down for a moment, right? One knee, 1 foot, or one shin, I should say. Denning, the veteran here, doing a good job.
That's going to be a hold.
That's coming back. Yeah, I saw the flag fly, but
carried by number 9, Luke Phillips.
Not going to matter anyway. If he goes out of bounds or not, we're going to run that back. So 159 and counting as the flag is dropped at about the 29 or 8-yard line. Who's pressed you? We're going to have, we'll wrap this up when we're done, and you and I can talk about each matchup before we sign off and say goodnight. But so far, your biggest surprise, I mean, not obviously South Carroll, but I mean, any one player sort of raise your eyebrows? I like to think it's on the Westminster side.
Yeah, I think Kason Doan really has to be the guy you look at with, he only had the 1 touchdown early, but he had the 50-yard play on the screen in the first quarter. He really got that Westminster team going, and then Comfer and Howard finished it off with the scores that they each had 2 in the back half.
I think it's just a great sign for Westminster to have him back.
Yeah.
Because he had missed some. I made a joke with Coach Basler. They had like 6 guys in those protective boots. It was literally boot camp on the sideline with Doan and Howard for a while, and of course Hitchcock still wears it once in a while. Now Doan is back, and anybody back. As you see a big play here finally from FSK. Etzler, I think he's going to get his touchdown pass here. Etzler gets it to Kadaj Myers, and finally some signs of life. Time is too little too late, but a nice play there, and that's his 2nd touchdown pass of the year for Jacob Etzler, so good signs there. FSK, hey, you trying to build on something? If this didn't go in your way, maybe we build on that, going into next week.
That's also something that's impressed me, Pat, some of the arm talent that we've seen displayed tonight, especially in that game specifically with Case going deep a couple of times, some 50-yard throws for him.
That's right.
That one for Etzler to Myers. We didn't see any big throws downfield for O'Connor tonight for Westminster. He was just kind of dinking and dunking.
Yeah.
He did have that about 30-yard strike on the seam to Howard, but that's about the extent of the arm talent we saw from him. But even Costos for South Carroll had a couple of big plays downfield.
We know Dexter can do it too.
Yeah, and Snell had a couple of long throws that didn't result in completions, but he still was showing off the arm talent.
Yep.
The one guy we really haven't seen it from is Denning.
That's true. Although we did see some completions from Denning.
We did.
All right, so I think Century does burn the timeout there after a stop. So 3rd and long coming up after the hold of 2 plays ago. Joey Tuminello, if I heard right on the PA, made the stop. So a timeout. So 141. I mean, unless they break off a long run here or do something to get a first down, Century will probably get it back. Not sure how many timeouts exactly Century has left. You see the Knights break the huddle and come back in. Jacob Plummer, you mentioned him, big 75, kind of leading them back in as Century needs to stop and needs to get the ball back. But, again, let's say they get it back and they have to go, 40, 50 yards. Do they have a kicker? Do they have Koenig? I don't see him Well, I don't think he plays too much in the way of defense. So I haven't seen him out there, but if he's out, it changes the game plan for Coach Dave Ferguson. But they got to get there first. All right, 141, and Denning is back. Boy, it looked like, I mean, they're going to stretch the play. It looked like Denning had a little room there to run up the field, and he wanted to come out and stretch it out. So they cannot stop the clock, or at least they're going to, if they're not, they're going to hold it.
Yeah, that was third down. So I think they're just trying to get into a spot where, you know, they were way behind the chains.
Oh, yeah,
you can
the
see it
hold
there.
killed
It
them,
was third and forever. So they were just trying to get into a spot where Denning, I'm sure, was told, hey, if you see a seam, go for it, but just try and waste as much clock as you can, and then we'll take it down. We'll call a timeout, punt it away, and see what we can do. So good clock management here for Winters Mill. We'll see. I think they're going to stop it around 50 seconds probably.
See Coach Miller in the bottom right of your screen, right next to the official. That'll be less than that.
Yeah, 49.
Yep, you're right, 49 seconds. So you hear Coach Miller telling his boys to come huddle up, and they're going to talk out the next 2 or 3 plays, right? Because you know you're going to punt here. What do we do to try to stop Century? Because we know in the back of our minds they're going to try to go for a touchdown on this drive.
Yeah, and if you're Winters Mill, you really have to be careful about the punt return, too. That's step number 1. You don't want to give Century a chance to return this punt, and then they have all the momentum, and now you're on with your backs against the wall on the offensive side. We've already seen this year for Winters Mill in that one loss they had where they got down and they didn't really have any way of getting the ball downfield quickly because of the way their offense runs. It runs through the ground game. They don't really have the ability to air it out. So it's imperative that Winters Mill doesn't give up the lead for obvious reasons.
Sure.
But, you know, from a reality standpoint, if Century does take the lead, it's going to be really difficult for Winters Mill with how much time is left to try and respond to that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got to be clean, right? This whole thing has to be clean for Winters Mill, and it looks like it was a clean punt, and a pretty good punt. Ashburn, can he get around the side? He can. He's into Winters Mill territory, and Ethan Ashburn down inside the 35-yard line, so not the best you could think of there for Century. Short field to work with, 35 seconds for the Knights. So double box there. Key did score on that touchdown. 8 minutes, clock running, 38-14. Liberty's going to get that win here and give Coach Luth that win that puts him into second place all time by himself in coaching wins in Carroll County. So again, congrats to Coach Larry Luth and the Lions for snapping a 2-game skid.
Yeah, I believe they got the
Yep, they were at 2-1.
The backup quarterback in there now.
And you're right, incomplete pass there, stops the clock. He tried to get it to McGlynn out of the backfield, I believe, or is that 31? All right, first down for Century.
And it is loud there at Winters Mill.
Pass over the middle, caught. And Duncan has a first down. That'll stop the clock for a moment.
Stop made by number 19, Shamar Mayer.
Good job by Dexter Poise, making sure everybody's set. Clock's running there. That stops for a brief moment in time.
Yep, and there is no Will Koenig out there, so you just keep that in mind. Not to say they couldn't kick a field goal, but Koenig is out.
Yeah, you saw Alex Gonzalez out there at receiver, Tyler Dale. And then, of course, Duncan will be, you know, the guy that you assume would be the go-to here. That's who they went to on the 4th down play on the previous drive. And this is pretty much it right here, Pat. They don't have any timeouts left. If they're in bounds, they're in a race against the clock, 24 seconds. And we talked about the stakes. Whoever wins this game is still in the thick of it for the county title.
All right, Dexter back to throw. And the pass gets away from him, and it's Austin Denning with the pick. And Denning takes a knee, flags fly. I think they're going to get a flag on Victor Tejada for a hit, although it's not going to matter in terms of the change of possession. And just like that, it needed to make a big play. It's Winters Mill's playmaker, Austin Denning, with the interception.
That's his 2nd interception tonight, his 4th on the season from the safety spot. And Winters Mill is going to improve to 5-1 on the season. What a turnaround for them. had that really good 23 season last year. You know, they lost a lot of talent, not so much. You take another look at it. He was going to Ashburn this time.
Yeah, Ashburn either stop the route or Dexter thought he was just going to stop, up and go. And I don't know. It seems like it was an okay hit to me by Tejada. The officials didn't like it. It hit Ashburn, but it's not going to matter. Winters Mill has the ball. They'll take a knee. And there'll be some handshakes, and here we go. I think it'll be victory formation, and Century can't stop it. And a nice come-from-behind win for Winters Mill, Nathan.
Yeah, exactly what Winters Mill needed. You know, they had that tough loss a couple of weeks ago against Manchester Valley. They come back with that big win against Key last week to build the confidence back. Remember, this is their first home game in a month, so the fact that they're able to come back home, they get the joy of not having to go on the bus prior to the game. It's their homecoming tonight.
Look how happy they are.
And man, that's a fired-up group. They're 5-1. They're going to officially be third in the county going into next week behind Manchester Valley and Westminster, who play each other.
Correct. So that will, again, we talked about this, that could turn out to be a tremendous win because of that, right? One of those teams next week's going to lose. Winters Mill hopes they can get the job done in their game next week and be 3-1 in the county. And then you never know. You got a couple weeks to prepare. So here we go. Key and Liberty still going. And is this again to Kadaj Myers? Well, okay, 7 minutes left, a long touchdown pass. And look, Liberty has some reserves in right now, but Eagles putting some points on the board. And that makes it 38-21 pending the PAT.
Yeah, I mean, never say never. The game isn't over until it's over.
You're right.
Even though they were down by 31 points, Myers and Etzler kind of willing them back into, contention here in this game. It's still a 3-score game.
Sure, and
7 minutes, not a lot of time. They're probably going to have to go onside kick here at some point.
If anything, this just gives Coach Lewis some stuff to chew on them on in practice, right?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Which he's not a stranger to doing. So you see Winters Mill's huddle there. We're going to show you some highlights from the Westminster Damascus game. Nathan, you mentioned it. Cason Doan was up front and up close and personal, and Damascus was backfield a lot to start this game.
Yeah, it was the Cason Doan show to start. He had that big run, then bends the corner there for an early score. That put Westminster up 7-0. And here's a big play for Damascus. They had a couple of drives going early. Westminster forced a fumble, and really there was only one or two big plays for Damascus all night long. This is the other big play for Doan. He didn't do too much after this that we saw, but this catch and run off the bootleg for O'Connor down the sideline, ripped down at the 6-yard line.
Huge block there too on the side to break that play open.
Huge block, and that set up his running mate Nick Comfort with his 7th touchdown of the season. This was all Westminster. If you really want to go into the specifics, that was the game-winning touchdown in the first quarter. And this Owls defense stifling Pat all night long. They made it so difficult for the Hornets to do anything. Confer really got into his stride after a slow opening few drives because of what Doan was able to do. They were just riding the hot hand. And you see Confer again just around the sides. He does a little hurdle here. I don't think we even showed that in real time. But, that kind of set up this screen and go from O'Connor. He finds Howard in the back of the end zone.
A nice pass by O'Connor.
Yeah, I mean, that's his 7th touchdown of the season. And this was the one play for Damascus where they really got involved. They catch Troop out of, formation right there from his safety spot, a little bit undisciplined from the Owls safety. That's the lone highlight of this game for the Hornets. We already showed the Doan, Confer, and Howard scores. This is Confer's 2nd of the game. That was the cherry on top for Damascus as they won 35-7, improving to 5-1 on the season. They stay at 3-0 in the county, and now they host Manchester Valley next week for potentially first place in the county on the line.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you mentioned Cason Doan off the bat, a guy that only had 8 carries going into the game. And, again, he had missed some time with injuries. They worked him back into the lineup. When you can get a guy like that back, that caliber, who had a great year last year as a sophomore, it just makes Westminster that much stronger, that much more stronger. The rest of the county is looking at saying, geez, now we got to worry about Doane. We thought we were okay without Hitchcock. Now Doane's back there with Comfer.
Yeah, because you imagine if they get Hitchcock back going into the playoffs.
Yeah. Looks like Key may have missed the PAT or gone for 2, perhaps. Either way, like you said, 38-20 is the score. And Liberty has the ball in Key territory.
Lone game left tonight, Pat. It's been a fun night so far.
It has. I'll say it's been a long night, but it's been a fun night. The thing I'm most impressed with is that Man Valley Damascus game. There was, again, because there was pretty clean, we didn't see too much in the way of penalties, and they scored a lot of points, but they didn't have to worry. They ran the ball well, and just very impressed with how the Owls handled themselves on the road tonight.
Absolutely. And those are the kind of statement wins that you want out of county. You're going to play a lot of tough competition in county. And, you play a game like you did against South Carroll last week where you score 7 touchdowns. You have a couple of pick sixes.
Right.
South Carroll was kind of down in the dumps after Masalewski, goes down, with the ambulance in the second quarter.
Yeah,
it was
already,
the air
out of the stadium
running clock for the entire second half. I mean, it's just one of those games where, you can kind of get complacent after it. A lot of the reserves get in there. Some of the starters may be, riding that high going into this week of practice. But you can tell that, Coach Bassler and his staff did an excellent job of making sure that they didn't, take that win for more than what it was, just a win. They celebrated that win, they put it behind them, and then they, went on a business trip to Damascus, a team that, has really significant aspirations to do something at the state level and has had a really good year this year. They were coming off of a 39-point win themselves against Rockville last week.
Yeah, feeling good about things.
Absolutely, and Westminster came in, punched them in the mouth from the opening possession. We showed you with that Doane touchdown. Confer and Howard, along with O'Connor, did the rest. The defense, for Westminster, had a couple of highlight plays. Taylor had a sack that we didn't show you. Isaiah Taylor, that is, the junior, with his 7th sack of the season. That, continues to lead the county. Westminster's got everything going in their direction right now. And with the way Manchester Valley played tonight, you got to think going into next week that Westminster has the upper hand in that one. But again, the same kind of thing applies where it's any given Friday night. Even though Man Valley lost tonight to South Carroll, that could, stir some things and put them in a mindset knowing that they really need to win that game next week to potentially change something and make them a little bit more angry than they would have been.
Here's Andrew McGlynn as Coach Luth put the starters back in, actually, at Liberty, so got a little too close for comfort. Are they going to say he stepped out, or are they going to give him the touchdown? They did give him the touchdown, so Andrew McGlynn gets in a nice run for the freshman and season high, if I'm not mistaken, in points for Liberty. Yeah, how about that? Like the spooky season moon there. We're going to see some highlights from South Carroll Man Valley. The game of the night, well, we had 2 games of the night, really, and this was the first one.
Yeah, Connor Stack has been doing this all season long, right, Patty? He gets the opening touchdown inside the 5-yard line to start. That was the first highlight we showed tonight. That was one of the, the early plays. Ziegenfuss with a big play here off the hitch route, the catch and run for Manchester Valley. The Mavericks were, off the ground, doing everything right. John Day leaps into the end zone there for his first touchdown in a while. It really felt like this was going to be a repeat for South Carroll of last week, but Jackson Kostos, the backup quarterback, starting today for Braden Masalewski, finds Jake Miller there for their first touchdown as a pair this season. Kostos really found his groove as this game went along, and so did Anthony Rodriguez, Pat. What the Rodriguez brothers have been able to do over the last half-decade for South Carroll has been so special to watch. Anthony, that is, the younger of the 3, doing it there. Kostos to the end zone here for Miller again. And it's Salih with the interception. That was his 2nd interception of this one. He's now went away from the tie, I should say, in the county with interceptions. He's now got 5. That leads the county. Kostos, again, he impressed me so much tonight. His poise,
touchdown, yeah.
He keeps the read option there. But this is the play of the night across the county. Anthony Rodriguez was in the backfield for nothing. Maybe a gain of a yard if, he stayed on his feet long enough. But no, he goes back to the left, reverses field, touchdown South Carroll, 21-14. You know, it really felt like South Carroll was just going to walk away from it at that point. But here comes Salee and these fighting Mavericks trying to do it. But 4th and goal stacked. They give it to their best player, Jake Gillis. A huge play for South Carroll, the tackle for loss. And that did it out there at the stable. South Carroll wins 21-14, their first win of the season. They're 1-5, 1-3 in county, and they head back to Winfield next week for homecoming in a non-county battle with a win in their win column.
And a big one just to get that off their back. Look, they're the smallest team in the county. They don't have a lot of depth. Everybody on the roster plays all 3 phases of the game. Then you start losing guys to injury, and you think, how are we going to overcome this, right? And you lose one of your biggest guys. You still have Rodriguez, you still have Jake Miller, you still have leaders on this team. Huge win. Congrats to Mike Crumley just to get that first one. And now you get Brunswick next week. Brunswick's 1-5, so you got a couple 1-5 teams going against each other. You win another one, get a little more confidence, and you go county the rest of the way. You could not upset somebody's season. You never know, right? You never know. We didn't think that South Carroll had any chance tonight, down 14-0 the way they were. Winners Mill Century, game of the night, part 2 at Big Mill in Westminster. As you mentioned, Nathan, the Falcons home for the first time in a month.
Yeah, and it was the fullback getting going early, Joey Ciminello with the early score. Not too much offense in this one. We kind of expected that coming in. Jake Andolina with a good play right there for Winners Mill. And here for Dexter, he tries to find Ashburn, not too much. That was really a main story tonight for Century. They had a couple of big plays downfield, but they had a lot more misses than they had hits in this one. This was one of their hits, though, just a little touch pass out to DeLon Barnes, and he did the rest. You know, out past the 40-yard line. That one touchdown for Tuminello was the only score of the opening half. This was maybe one of the more dangerous passes of the night. You called that out immediately, Pat.
Always scares me.
Yeah, to Koenig, who we hope is okay. He left the game late in the 4th quarter with an injury. And there's the first of Austin Denning's interceptions on the night. 4th down, Dexter trying to, float it over the top of the defense. Denning with an excellent return, and that set up Winners Mill in great field position to where they would get their first score. And it's Phillips for the Falcons.
Luke Phillips off the right side, indeed. I believe his second score of the evening?
That was his first score, but okay. You'll see his second in a couple of minutes. This was the big play, though, for Century tonight. Koenig down the right sideline, past Denning, 50 yards, the first play of the 4th quarter. This really felt like it was the turning point for Century, but there's that second touchdown, Pat, that you were talking about. Luke Phillips untouched into the end zone, his 9th score of the season. That leads all rushers in the county.
And they
give it to Andolina on the 2-point conversion. They actually lined up for the PAT at first, called a timeout. Then they went for 2 and got it. And that would be your final score in this one. Denning with an interception at the end in the final 30 seconds to seal it. And Winters Mill gets the win. They're 5-1. They improved to 2-1 in the county. They're a half game back of Manchester Valley, so they're in 3rd place right now in the county.
Started the season 3-0. We saw them against Man Valley, scored first, looked like they were going to get to 4-0. We still have 4 minutes to go. Lions up 45-20. I like how the Falcons didn't let that frustrating loss at Man Valley snowball, because they gave up points against Key to start that game last week, down 3-0, scored 20 straight, won 20-3. Got things back on track. Fell behind in this game. Just wins like that show a little bit of grit and guile and tenacity. That can take you places in the county and keep you in a lot of these games. We saw it tonight with South Carroll. They had no business on paper. We said, this isn't even a knock on them. We said, well, Man Valley is going to get the win, and it's going to be a big game next week against Westminster. Not so fast, right? I mean, South Carroll wants to win this game too. Just come away super impressed with Winners Mill and South Carroll for different reasons, but the way they handled themselves tonight and got wins.
Yeah, anytime you win a football game, it's going to be impressive, right? But the way that each team's been able to do it tonight, Westminster with, the ground game, the play action was working from the jump. The defense was impeccable. Again, domination from the opening whistle to the final whistle. South Carroll coming back from 2 scores down. Winners Mill coming back from down twice in this one, getting that touchdown late with Phillips in the middle of the 4th quarter. each team was able to do it a different way, and each team was able to come out with a much-needed win.
Right after they lost Koenig on that play where he went kind of, head over feet and landed awkwardly, they went for it on fourth down, had what they looked like was going to be a touchdown to Duncan. In comes Isaac Colehep. Great job, we talked about it. Hand through the receiver's hands, turns them over on downs, eats up a little bit of clock, and only leaves Century once they give it back to him with seconds left. And so big plays that maybe there wasn't a turnover, a true turnover, just big defensive plays all night. Denning 2 picks. Colehep with a nice play. Tackles from Tejada and things like that on defense, and just Ezzy Poutre, we mentioned him. They're going to be a problem for people.
Yeah, I'd say I told you Rodriguez maybe that play of the night. I'll give him the offensive play of the night with that one. Defensive play of the night, probably Colehep there with the PB on
Big
fourth
play,
down.
biggest play for them.
Salih's second interception in the end zone,
Yeah.
probably an honorable mention for that one as well. There's been some fun plays in this game. Who would have thought that there would be 65 points in this one? With the way this one started.
We had a fake punt in this game
Right.
earlier on.
That changed this game. I know we talked about it earlier.
Yeah,
but
Key was in the game. You're right. It wasn't as lopsided as it is right now until Liberty kept the ball in that drive and then scored to kind of take advantage. And then there were some turnovers along the way after that. But 2.5 minutes, clock winding down, and Liberty going to improve and to 3-3 and get that losing streak over at just 2. So didn't score last week against Man Valley, lost a tight one in the final seconds against Westminster. Season on the brink, maybe you want to use that cliche. They right the ship in a big way tonight. Season high, 45 points right now, and they're going to get the win over Francis Scott Key. And for Key, it's been a tough 4-game skid. They were in the game at Man Valley, and they fell back and forth. Man Valley came back and won in week 3. They went back and forth for a while with Tuscarora, but they couldn't quite get past the Titans. They lose that one in week 4. They score first last week against Winters Mill and give up 20 in a row. When it rains, it pours, but Key has done a couple good things late in this game. Okay, look, albeit the score was lopsided, I get that. But if you're trying to get a silver lining somewhere in here, if you're Coach Cunningham, you want to see what you've done with Etzler, throwing a couple touchdown passes late just to get some sort of momentum going for Key.
Yeah, anything would be positive, and they're going to fall to last place in the county with the South Carroll win, and now Key is going to be 0-3 in the county, tied with South Carroll overall at 1-5. Those two teams still have to play each other down the line. That'll be your Week 9 matchup out there at South Carroll on Halloween night. So, for FSK, just trying to find the positives in this one, even though there's not too much. Of course, Taku with the big touchdown early that tied the game at 7.
Which he's been doing all year.
Yeah, he's been sensational. But after that, we didn't really see too much of him. We saw a lot of the Liberty offense. The defense for Key gassed at this point in the game. Etzler with a couple of monster throws to Myers downfield, 2 long touchdowns for Kadaj Myers in this one in the fourth quarter. But, you look at this game overall, and, it's just so impressive for Liberty. I take away more, impression of positivity for Liberty and the way they've been able to bounce back from a couple of tough losses than I do with necessarily disappointment for Key. As Etzler lets it fly again. Myers wide open again.
Yeah, Myers could have been a third.
They can't get the hat trick.
And could have been a third if he had completed it, but that's a turnover on downs. Liberty will kneel this one out with 30 seconds to go, and they will win. And so, like Nathan said, Liberty will improve to 3-3 overall and 2-2 in the county. And Key, again, like you said, Nathan drops to 0-3, so winless in the county and 1-5 overall. Their losing streak hits 4 straight. And, South Carroll got off the deck to end their losing streak. Key is going to try to do the same next week. And you want to try to work on the positives, but I know the negatives are going to ruminate in your head. So how do you get back on the field tomorrow if you have practice, which most teams do, especially after a game like this? You're back on the field tomorrow morning. What do we work on to step forward into week 7? Because there's only 3 games left in the regular season after this.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to go back to the fundamentals, right? It's really that simple. Tackling, of course, number 1. Discipline, we saw a lot of pre-snap penalties tonight, especially in that South Carroll Man Valley game early on. It didn't come back to bite South Carroll necessarily, but that's one thing I'm sure Coach Crumley and his staff will work on in this upcoming week of practice, now knowing that is an issue that they can easily correct, and maybe it leads to more wins as, the clock runs out here. Liberty will get their 3rd win of the season. But if it's not the fundamentals, sometimes it's just, finding more creative ways to get your playmakers involved. For Key, Taku maybe in the passing game a little bit. Send him on a long route instead of Myers. Of course, Myers has been fantastic tonight.
Sure.
Maybe try and get Taku in there a different way. For Century, maybe they try to run the ball a little bit more with Barnes. I thought that was really working for them tonight. Then they tried to go through the air, and it really wasn't working in the second half. So, each team has their ups and their downs throughout the season. Each team has regrets from one game to another. I'm sure there's a lot of plays that both teams want back from tonight, but I think overall just getting back into the saddle of, knowing what you do well, what you don't do well, and just trying to figure it out. With, like you said, 3 weeks to go, there's not much time to get it to turn around.
I was going to say, try to get to the drawing board. There's only 3 weeks left of the drawing board. It might be pretty long right now.
Right.
You got to wipe it off and start clean. So Liberty gets the win. We'll see the recap highlights from the Liberty win over Francis Scott Key in convincing fashion, 45-20, the final score as the Lions break that skid. And impressed with Liberty the way they were able to get their offense finally going, and Sean Case was a big reason why.
And Sean Case with a lot of touchdowns in this one. He had
a lot.
5 of them, 2 on the ground, 3 through the air. This one isn't a touchdown, but a big play to Carter Weddle. And that set up his first rushing touchdown. And here's that touchdown we talked about from Taku. He's been so good in space this season, off tackle. Want to see more of that if you're FSK. He did a lot of that in the Tuscarora game a few weeks ago. This came after the fake punt, and this was Stephen Puckett's first and lone touchdown of the day.
Yeah, we saw him on defense as well, which we'll probably see in a minute, but Case just airing this one out.
Yeah, this also may be a play of the day offensively for Greco. The more highlights we see, the more I'm like, man, now I remember
Our list
that.
is growing, that's right.
Yeah, maybe we should put a top 5 together or something down the line. But, Puckett, Greco, Kern having a big day.
McGlynn, the freshman.
Yeah, McGlynn, the freshman, getting in the end zone late in the game. Here's another one for Greco, which
this one actually
was
got called back, but a great play. Look at the effort by Greco.
Yeah. Just overall domination by Liberty in this one. Here's that, play again. We're showing it twice, even though it didn't actually count.
Yeah.
Greco with a great day overall. The senior receiver having a really great end to his high school football career. Liberty convincingly 45-20. You'll see the last couple of big plays here. There's another one to Weddle.
Great catch by Weddle.
So many different options for Liberty at receiver. Weddle, Puckett, Greco, all upperclassmen. And then this is when FSK started to let it fly.
Yeah. It was good to see Key get things going on offense.
Definitely something of a positive you can take away for this, knowing you have that big playability. All 3 of their touchdowns were over 50 yards, it felt like. That wraps up our Week 6 games. And
there's
you
your
can
scores.
See, Westminster, Winners Mill, Liberty, and South Carroll with big wins tonight.
Yeah, and impressed with, obviously the 4 teams that won. Westminster with a huge road win against a team that most people think is one of the top teams around in Montgomery County, and they lose by 4. They lose by 28 points. You don't see that too often at Damascus. Was last week and this week the turning point in terms of Westminster being more complete? We'll see. Time will tell. Updated standings here, as updated as possibly can. And there you go. You mentioned it, Nathan. Winners Mill jumps ahead of Liberty, and they're sitting there wondering how the next week's going. They're going to be watching that game as much as they can, of course, between Western and Man Valley, because the loser of that one is in Winners Mill's sights.
Yeah, I think if Winners Mill is able to pick up a win next week, things are starting to look a little bit different there. I think, maybe we'll be at that Westminster Man Valley game, and we'll see what happens there. But
we'll be at all the games.
Yeah, of course. We'll be at all the games. Maybe we will be at that game. That's shaping up to be the most pivotal game next week, of course. But just an exciting time for Carroll County football. Westminster seems to be back on track. Man Valley has stumbled tonight, but if they're able to come back next week, how much that fun could be if things shape up and are able to happen that way. So many fun games tonight. So glad we could bring it to you in this red zone-esque fashion. Yeah.
Before we sign off, and you just hit them all on the head, but just maybe one offensive takeaway and one defensive takeaway from any of the 4 games we saw.
I think offensively for Westminster, just the ability to do it through the ground with Comfer, with Doan. O'Connor, we know what he can do with his legs. Defensively, I think Winters Mill played really well defensively tonight. Denning with a couple of interceptions. We talked about Colehep with the PBU at the end. Just truly fundamental defense from the defensive back position. There's so many positives to take away from a lot of these games. Liberty played really well defensively up until those couple of big plays at the end of the fourth quarter as well. Every team that won tonight really, I felt, played a complete game. That's what you want to do at this point in the season. It's not the early stage of the season. At this point, it's not even the middle of the season. This is the end of week 6, 3 regular season games left. This is the final third of the regular season. Every team makes the playoffs, of course, so there's only 4 guaranteed games left on everybody's schedule. Now it's crunch time to try and correct those mistakes that we saw from the losing teams tonight. The winning teams, a lot of mistakes to correct too, but they're headed home happy tonight.
Nathan, always a pleasure, my man.
Absolutely,
Nathan
Pat.
Schwartz with me here as we wrap this up. Be sure to catch all of our high school sports content online on Facebook and YouTube. You can watch us on cable channels 18 and HD 1072. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, CMSportsNet Action. And don't forget, coming soon, CMSportsNet Plus, the home for all high school sports coverage. And we're creating a new way to experience all the action at every stadium and every gym across Carroll County, live and on demand. Stay tuned for more details on that. It's your team, your game, and your network. It's CMSportsNet Plus, and it's coming soon. For Nathan Schwartz, I'm Pat Stoetzer saying thanks for watching. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.
CMSportsNet is made possible by Carroll Links, Carroll Indoor Sports Center, and independent car service.
There's a lot about Sarah and Tara that's exactly alike. They drink the same coffee, they have the same great job, and they both have a high-quality education. The only difference? Sarah spent her first 2 years at Carroll Community College, getting the same exceptional education, but at less than half the cost. So while Tara uses her paycheck to make student loan payments, Sarah can use hers for other things, like going out for coffee. Get started at carrollcc.edu.
Carroll Indoor Sports Center, celebrating its 30th season. 66,000 square feet of fields and courts. Rain or shine, multiple soccer and lacrosse leagues. Artificial turf fields and courts to rent. Party rooms and snack bar available. Summer camp for the kids. Safe indoor environment for athletes of all ages. Carroll Indoor Sports Center. Your sport, anytime.